I come in the meeting. Planning open chairs.
Yes.
It's on. Yeah. Cool. Morning, everyone. My name is Riley Smith. I'm a Hawaii Island board member. I'm sitting in for Chair Don Chang, who should be joining us in about an hour. Okay. This is the June 13th, 2025 meeting of the Board of Land and Natural Resources. It is 9:01 a.m. Public meeting protocol, just going to go over a bunch of different things so we're on the same page. We're holding this meeting as a hybrid meeting. Some of us are in person in the Kalaniʻimoku building, the boardroom in Honolulu, and we're also holding this meeting remotely via Zoom. In addition, it can be watched live on YouTube. For those testifying via Zoom, we will move you from the waiting room into the meeting when the board hears the item you signed up to testify on. Please remember to mute your YouTube when you enter the Zoom meeting, or we will get an echo. When you enter the Zoom room, please keep your camera off and microphone muted until the chair calls on you for your testimony. Presentations by staff, comments by applicants are limited to 5 minutes each. With the group of community members here, we can be a little bit flexible with you folks today. Okay. We ask members of the public testifying on agenda items to limit their testimony to no more than 2 minutes. Testifiers will not be allowed to relinquish their time to others. I apologize in advance if I need to cut you off, but we have a lot of people wanting to testify. I ask that if you submitted your testimony via email, that you stand by your testimony. As the board members have reviewed the testimony that has been submitted, please address your comments to the board and not to the project applicant and not to the folks in the room. The timer, Pua, will be assisting us in keeping us on a time frame. She's got 2 signs here. One is when there's 30 seconds left on your testimony. We're going to follow the timing on the Zoom so that if you're giving testimony and you want to keep track of it, just look at any of the screens. You'll see it counting down from 2 minutes. At 30 seconds, she'll give you a 30-second warning. And we ask that at the end of 2 minutes that you stop your testimony so that I can have the next person come up and testify. Before you start your testimony, please clearly state your name and identify yourself for the record. That goes into our minutes. The chat box is not to be used for any comments because that presents a sunshine issue. However, the board secretary may message you if you're on Zoom via the chat box to ask which item you wish to testify on so that she can let you into the meeting at the appropriate time. Board members, I'm asking that all board members request my consent before providing any comments, asking any questions. I will work to balance all questions from board members so that no one board member dominates the conversation. I don't intend to limit the time for questioning. I just want to institute a protocol to ask permission to take the floor from myself before speaking. We may be taking breaks every hour or so. I will now read the standard contested case statement. In some of the matters before the board, a person may wish to request a contested case hearing. If such a request is made before the board's decision, then the board will consider the request first before considering the merits of the item before it. A person who wants a contested case may also wait until the board decides the issue, then request the contested case after the decision, but before the close of the board meeting. It is up to you. Any request must also be made in writing within 10 calendar days. If no request for contested case is made, the board will make a decision. The department will treat the decision as final and proceed accordingly. From time to time, we may go into an executive session pursuant to section 92-5, subsection A, subsection 4, Hawaii revised statutes, in order to consult with our attorney on questions and issues pertaining to the board's powers, duties, privileges, immunities, and liabilities. Okay. At this time, I'd like to take roll of all of the board members present. Karen, if you'd like to start.
Karen Ono, Kauai representative.
Ronan Char, Oahu.
Riley Smith, Hawaii Island board member.
Doreen Puakanto, Maui Island member.
Chair Chang will be joining us about 10. Amy Barnes, Oahu member, is not present today and excused. Wesley Kaiviyun at large is also not present and excused. I'd like to introduce our staff that are present today. We have our board secretary, Rihanna Wright, and also Deputy Attorney General Colin Lau. Okay. If anybody has any move-up agenda items, if you can sign that list at the table up front, Rihanna will check it from time to time and we'll try to rearrange items for anybody who's in the room today. Okay, try to allow you that have taken the time to come down here to be heard first. And so we might rearrange some of the items. Right now, the sequence of items is going to be, we're gonna go through our minutes first, then item J, the DOBOR J1 item, then K, Office of Conservation and Coastal Lands, K1. Then we're gonna move on to E, State Parks. Then agenda item D, Land Division, has about 11 or 12 items. So we'll take those in those order. If there's anybody, so we're gonna do those first three that are all single items. When we get to the D items, if there's anybody in the room on that, we will take you out of order so that you don't have to stay for the balance of the meeting. Okay. All right, so I think we'll move on to item A1. Item A1 is approval of the May 23rd, 2025 summary minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
Riley, I have some corrections to be made.
I think we should motion second and
okay.
then discussion.
Okay, I make a motion to approve the minutes. I can't say it's submitted because I have some corrections.
Yeah, okay. Second,
Second.
discussion.
Okay, I'd like to make a correction on the attendance. Amy Barnes, it's not partial meeting. She was here in attendance and left about an hour before the meeting. And the addition of the Attorney General, and I think it was Miranda that was our AG at the last meeting,
Okay,
because she's not included in the minutes.
okay.
And then the other item is on page 9 of the minutes, item J3. In the amendment, and I'd like clarification from our AG today. In the amendment, we have as a mandate that the installation of new machines be required. I don't think our role as members, we can require someone to put a new machine. We can recommend that they put in a new machine.
That seems appropriate, yeah. Colin, is that,
Yeah, I just discussed it with member
okay.
one.
So even though the minutes are intended to reflect what was said, but if we misspoke during the meeting, we're gonna correct it to what we can require the applicant, right? Okay, that makes sense to me. Any other items?
No, that's it.
Well, you good with those amendments?
I'm good.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all those in favor, we do need a roll call on the first one. Rihanna, you wanna do that?
Member Ono,
Aye.
Member Char,
Hi.
Member Smith,
Aye.
Member Concha.
Aye.
All right, motion approved. Thank you very much. Moving on to item J1.
As amended, yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, approved as amended. Thank you. Okay, item J1. Megan, did you wanna introduce?
I'm just gonna introduce, I'm Megan Stats. I am the voting administrator. Before we get started, Alex Hastings is gonna do our item. We would ask for the board's approval for protocol from the Ayala Polynesian Voyaging Academy. So if that's okay.
Absolutely.
All right. All yours.
You know, before we get started, I apologize. Usually we try to acknowledge folks in the room that have some history with the Board of Land Natural Resources. I'd like to recognize Chair Ayla, formerly with the Department of Land and Natural Resources. Thank you for joining us. And also I wanted to acknowledge Keikoa Kaluhiva, former deputy at the Board of Land and Natural Resources. So thanks for joining us, Keikoa. All right, go ahead.
Ohu ohu pa.
Ohu kai kauano e Mauna kapui ka ulalena. Uki e kauri ka opua. E ki o vai na ke hau. Na ole mai ka vai a kana ulu. Koloni mai ke kolovau. Iti mai ka pua kaya ulu. E kuhai ka ulau. Ai kole ke kilinare. E o mai kole.
Mahalo.
While they're presenting later to your board members, I am Joey Ford. I'm the chairman of the board for Ayala Voyaging Academy. I want to give a warm mahalo and aloha to the board members chair for having this action item, seeing this, and allowing us to continue to participate and perpetuate Native Hawaiian voyaging practices and I also want to acknowledge Morning and Ocean Recreation for their kindness to aloha and their vision to see this program succeed in our life. Thank you. We'll just do the knuckles. Might be contagious.
Thank you very much. Let me introduce the item J1. This is an issuance of a eleemosynary lease by the direct negotiation to Ayala Voyaging Academy, a certified tax exempt 501c3 organization for storing and maintaining the voyaging canoe Ayala, as well as engaging in educational activities that include Polynesian navigation and Hawaiian cultural practices in Waianae Small Boat Harbor, Waianae Kai, Waianae Oahu, Hawaii, TMK 852, parcel 44, and declare the project exempt from preparation of environmental assessment under Chapter 343 Hawaii Revised Statutes and Title 11, Chapter 200.1 Hawaii Administrative Rules. Okay, go ahead.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Alex Hastings, and I'm here on behalf of the Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation. Agenda item J1 is a request for approval of an eleemosynary lease issued by direct negotiation to Ayala Voyaging Academy. The purpose of this lease is to allow the Academy to continue storing and maintaining the voyaging canoe Ayala at Waianae Small Boat Harbor. The Academy currently holds an active lease with Dobor, which will expire in August of 2026. Today's request is to issue a new lease for the same site with a proposed term of 20 years. A little bit of backstory about the site. The Waianae Halauva'a was constructed in 2015 at a total cost of $700,000. Of that amount, $500,000 was appropriated by the Hawaii State Legislature and $200,000 came from the Boating Special Fund. The halau was built to support the restoration and operation of Ayala, a 45-foot double-hulled traditional voyaging canoe. The Academy's core mission is to preserve and revitalize traditional Hawaiian voyaging practices through contemporary applications, empowering the community through cultural education. Hawaii Revised Statute 171-43.1 does not address lease extensions. Because of that, staff is recommending the issuance of a new 20-year lease. However, the board may consider alternate lease terms if they find it more appropriate. I'm available to answer any questions you may have. Representatives from the applicant organization, as well as the supporting community members, are also present and available for questioning. Thank you for your time.
All right. Thank you very much, Alex.
Thank you.
Board members, any? Board members, any questions?
Great job.
If not, anybody in the room that may want to testify? Please come forward. Is there anybody else who's going to testify? I'll have you come up right after Chair Island. Not? Okay.
Oh, hello, Mike Kako. It is wonderful to see you, and it is nice to be on this side of the table. Because it's no longer my fault for anything. Good to see you, Colin.
So Bill, name and name.
Oh, my name is William Isla Jr. Right now, I'm a retiree, a Happy State retiree, but also a board member of Ayala Voyaging community. I would like to just talk about the history that I have been involved in. So as a harbor master at Waianae for more than 23 years, in the late 80s through the 90s and early 2000s, Ayala played an important role in our community in developing youth and developing their ability to think independently, their ability to cherish the Va'a tradition of being interdependent on each other. Today, that need is never more important in our community as right now. We have a lot of youth that are not connected. We have a lot of youth who have not picked up the positive values that are exhibited so well by this crew right here, right now. Ayala will provide them the ability to strengthen those ties and to share those ties in the community. Ayala will also teach them to be navigators, not only on the Va'a, but navigators in leadership positions in our communities. And for that, and these intangible things that intrinsic values, I would urge you to support and approve item J1 and maybe even consider a bit longer term, because it always makes it easier to fundraise when you have longer terms.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any question, John?
Hello, Mike Kako. My name is Keone Ford. I'm the chairman of the board for Ayala Voyaging Academy. I'm also a Waianae resident. I want to give our warm aloha mahalo for the time here. I would like to testify for the program Ayala Voyaging Academy to the words that Uncle William shared, that we are growing people. We're growing people in places. And the Ayala Voyaging Academy and the Halal Va'a and the canoe is a representation of our people, of our moku, of our resilience. And we are navigating not only the ocean, but we are navigating challenging times. We're navigating difficult situations and complexities that we have yet to foresee. And the opportunity to have a long-term lease at Waianae Moku gives us and establishes a safe place, a safe location. And that's what Ayala's Voyaging Academy and the Halal Va'a allows us to hunker down as a community and sit in safe places and safe spaces. And so if I may humbly ask your kukua request to see that this lease is accepted, and also the opportunity, if we could foresee maybe a longer lease, if it's possible for fundraising capacities, but we're very thrilled to be here, and a warm mahalo to all of you. Aloha.
Thank you very much. Anybody else in the room like to testify? Oh, yeah. Go ahead. Well,
Quick question. So when you speak of a longer lease, how much longer do you think you'd be?
Well, I think, we're very grateful for 20. The canoe itself is 48 years old, and Ayala is being constructed with modern materials to go the next 45 years and beyond. So I I think we're very grateful for the 20-year request, but when we take a look at building and establishing, this VAA has supported and been a hallmark of our community. As we rebuild Ayala for the future, we intend to see Ayala go well beyond 45 years and having a home. As you know, Waianae faces tremendous houselessness issues, and it was so important for the Halal VAA to be built because it created a home for Ayala. So it stands out in that regard, but
Thank you.
any consideration. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mahalo very much.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Can we ask Megan or, yeah, someone from the department to come up? Whoever.
Make him come up today.
So back onto the long lease. Could we extend it to more than 20 years?
Absolutely. When we were in discussions, we started off at 10, they, because that's kind of standard. They asked for 20 and we said, yes, sure. And we're open to any suggestions from the board for a longer lease. Absolutely. Thank you.
Like to comment. Initially, my reactions was that it should be for 10 years, but I can understand the need for 20 years. My concern is that I think by having these benchmarks, we can ensure that the organization will continue. Whether it's 10 or 20 years or 30 years, it's going to be beyond my lifetime in any event, but I think I would be more prone to a 20-year, which is in addition to the current 10-year term. Just my view.
Yeah, I mean, I've worked since, day one with this organization the last, 10 years. And from the inception to where they are now has been such a tremendous, it's been such a tremendous leap to see within the community what they've been able to do with the keiki out on the west side. I mean, this canoe is ingrained in that community, and getting the keiki out and just listening to some of the stories about what they're doing. I would support, a longer term, whatever the board feels, but I think we don't get to come to the board very often to do something that feels really good. And I do get emotional about it. This is something I've dealt with for 10 years. So we are very supportive of whatever the board decides, but we would be open to something longer term.
Go ahead, Paul.
So thank you, Megan. So Member Char, thank you. I have a strong urge to we're going to talk about the rental now, money for it. To change the monthly rent from currently $100 to $40 a month, and equivalent to $480. Okay, I know I'm just throwing my thoughts out there, as versus to $1,200. So that's a thought that I had late last night and early this morning, and so it's up for discussion. And I'm looking at, Member Char, forgive me, but I'm looking at least 40-year term as versus the 20. So I'm sure we can have some kind of deliberation going on at this level, but I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Megan, I had a question. So what is the longest lease that DLNR has approved for any of the voyaging society groups?
Well, I don't know for DLNR in general. We haven't done one for the boating division. So this was our first long-term lease of 10 years. So I don't have any historical information.
What did we approve for Makali in Kauai?
I don't think that was us. Wasn't under the boating division. I
Okay.
apologize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, typically, Richard Howard for voting. Typically, when we deal with canoes, it's as we've discussed before, storage of racing canoes on state shoreline, and those are month to month, good for up to a year. So this is a little different than anything we've done previously.
And I think the difference in this one, as Alex kind of mentioned, you know, there was $500,000 from the legislature and 200,000 from the boating division to build this halau 10 years ago. So I think when we started this, that was the board's understanding for the rent for the $100 a month. And at the time, the board for the Ayala was okay with paying that. They had enough funds. But, you know, we're open to whatever the board decides.
And similarly with other dispositions that we had at Honokaa Boat Harbor, if they were a 501c3, as well as the various groups up at Kauai High, we did offer them the nonprofit rate of $40 a month.
That's correct.
And so making that amendment in this one would be consistent with what we've done before, right? Okay. I'm kind of okay with that.
Can,
Colin, is there any, are you aware of any restrictions on the length of this kind of disposition that we can? Guardrails, can we go more than 20 or 60?
Looks like it.
Okay.
I have a
Karen?
question. Since this building has been constructed, how has the Waianae Harbor been? As far as, you know, the amount that we spent on doe care being there during that height of crime and everything else, with the presence of this building here now and with all of you there, has that cut down on the crime and what's been in the area?
I mean, we still deal with, you know, homeless situations. We do have, you know, situations you saw with, you know, when doe care was down there and they were there 24/7. We do have the doe care substation is within this Waianae Small Boat Harbor. I think by having this organization in the facility, using it regularly, it does deter, you know, unwanted acts that still do take place within the harbor. It's just moved out to other areas and away from the halau itself. But I think, you know, it kind of stands as almost like a beacon of hope, and this is what the community stands for. And by having that, I think other parts, it kind of radiates, right? And I think that's really what this halau kind of stands
Hopefully,
for.
all of you could reach out to some of the younger ones to pull them in also. I mean, yeah,
That's correct.
okay.
Thank you, Karen.
I'd be in accord with the reduction in the rent, because I do support what has been stated, and looking at my former chair, Mr. Isla, I can appreciate the good work that is being done there. However, I would still like to stick with 20 years, because I think that affords the opportunity for them to come back to renew, you know. There's no reason to go beyond the 20 years, which is already an extension. But I'm very much in accord with the reduction, to be consistent.
Any other questions for the people in the audience right now? Okay, cool.
Oh, okay, I can go.
We're on board here today. So-
I have a point for Mr. Char here, Member Char. If we went the longer term and made them come back in 10 years, like how we do for other leases, would that be okay with you?
For,
So,
the purpose
extending-
would be to report.
To report, yes. 20 years, 10 years, 20 years,
Yeah.
whatever.
So
We do
what
in the
you're
other
saying
leases.
is propose a 30-year. lease,
30 or
come back
40,
in
yeah.
10 years,
Yeah.
report their progress and the condition of the
Then-
facilities and that.
That,
Yeah.
I guess I would go 30 if, with
Okay.
that in mind, to develop, because we need 4 votes for that.
Yeah.
Yeah, one of the things we're struggling with is only 4 of us. So if we're gonna pass anything, we all have
Gotta be all
to.
in.
And we're not gonna leave this room until we pass it.
Or we could wait another hour.
No, Vernon.
Yeah, but I really support the program, and I think this is the positive things that can be done out in Waianae, contrary to all the stuff that we read in the newspaper. So I'm really for that. I just would like to have constant dialogue. And so the reporting system, among other things, is a good thing. I think having the academy present today is a great thing. And 10 years from now, coming back, is a good thing as well.
And like anything else in life, when you're given something, you need to continue to earn it. Yeah. So you have role models in your community that are showing you good behavioral aspects. So you need to continue that and show the younger kids the same kind of leadership. Yeah. So do we kind of have a consensus here?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
so
think we do.
I will move.
Well, let's check. Is there anybody else on Zoom that might want to testify? Okay, go ahead, Barry.
Move acceptance of the staff report with two amendments. One, to reduce the rent to $40 per month rather than the 100, consistent with what we have done with other AMRs and other institutions. And secondly, to increase it from 20 to 30 years, conditioned on reports by the applicant on a 10-year basis.
I'll second.
Sounds good. Any discussion by the board? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. You're welcome.
I need to talk about my crew. You call me anything.
Okay, we're gonna move on to K1 in about 30 seconds, so.
All right.
Or wait.
Whatever you want.
Yeah, you're done.
Why not?
There for the day. Have a great day, guys. Thanks. Yeah, no worries.
Thank you.
We'll start with you and then I'll finish up with Ben. Or no, you can just wait. I'll point you out. Sorry.
Thank you. Good luck. Gotta go on. Thank
Good luck.
Thank you.
I can really appreciate the 10-year reporting.
Long time no see, buddy. Hey. Yeah. I'm this close though. Yeah. Good to see you here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ernie. Rihanna, the minutes go. 2 minutes, yeah.
Everybody is welcome to stay. We're gonna move on to item K1. Agenda item K1, Conservation District Use Application, CDUA OA-3961 for the Maunalua Bay Boat Launch Ramp Facility Improvements and Maintenance Dredging Project by the Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation located at Maunalua Bay, Oahu, TMK 397, parcels 11, 32, and 34, and seaward. Michael.
I needed 32 seconds to get ready. Good morning, Chair, Acting Chair. I don't know how to address you and board members. Riley. Michael Kane with the Office of Conservation and Coastal Lands. Thank you for moving this item up. This is a state project by the Division of Boating and Ocean Recreation. So I do want to acknowledge that we have Finn McCall with the engineering branch in the room. And we also have Rob Walker, who is the consultant on the project. What I propose is to give you a quick high-level overview and then turn, just for context, and then turn things back over to Riley for questions and discussion. So if you can, I'll direct you to Exhibit 1. Made copies for the kids that are gone. So our project location is on the southeast shore of Oahu on Maunalua Bay. This is an area that historically had been a pretty rich agriculture area and fish pond area, heavily developed when the Hawaii Kai subdivision was built. If you look at the picture, this is Kalaniana Ole running across the center. We believe the original shoreline was there. The boat ramp facility you see on the Mackay side is composed of fill from the creation of the marina and from the dredging of the channel. So we're not looking at a naturally occurring shoreline here. We're looking at a man-made one. The facility is heavily used by both fishermen and by ocean recreation people, primarily paddlers. For those who aren't from Oahu, this is the launching point for what's called the Hawaii Kai Run. It's a downhill run from Hawaii Kai to Waikiki. That's it hosts a number of races as well as individual recreational paddlers. Coaches love to send you there for a workout. It is heavily used and also severely degraded. If you look at Exhibit 2A, you can see the current condition. And what you'll notice is the canoes are packed together, parking is overflowing into the sandy area, and we have a lot of sort of gravelly and silt erosion leaking into nearshore waters. The proposal by Dobor is to dredge the channel that's running along the facility and then out into the deeper ocean and reuse that dredge material to help restore the boat ranch facility. Exhibit 2C shows the contours of the channel that will be dredged. We think about 5,850 cubic yards of fill will be recovered. That fill will be divided into 4 different stockpiles based upon the quality of the fill. Those parts that we think can be safely used in the nearshore environment will be used to rebuild and reconstruct the facility. Fill that is hazardous waste or is not an appropriate quality will be shipped off-site. Exhibit 4 shows the work plan for rebuilding the facility. And I'll just talk you through it moving from left to right. On the left, you'll see a yellow kind of boxed area. That's a severely eroded area. The highest quality material will be placed here. The green area will also be filled, although that area will be bounded by a sheet pile. There's currently a broken CMU wall bounding some of this area. When we did a cost benefit analysis, it appeared it was more efficient and more affordable to just build a new sheet pile wall than to try to rebuild the CMU wall. Moving along the parking lot, there'll also be some work on the wall. And the final yellow part is an open beach area. And if we have extra beach quality material, it will be placed there. We did a lot of consultation with the community, paddlers, Dobor, and consultant to help make sure this project was done in an environmentally sensible manner. When we do shoreline work, we look at whether there are soft solutions, hybrid solutions, or hard solutions available. Our preference is always for the soft solutions, coastal restoration, beach nourishment, etc. In this case, it's this is. Oh my God. All right. So anyway,
Michael, if anything that you weren't able to address, if the board has any questions, we can allow them to ask questions.
Okay, we stand in support of the project.
Cool.
Thank you,
Any
Michael.
board members have any comments?
Yeah, I have a question. So the applicant really is Dobar?
Correct.
Is anyone here from Dobar?
We have Finn McCall with the engineering branch, who's the project lead.
Okay. Now, has this item been, has it been determination what the cost would be, and has there been funding for this? I realize that the purpose today is just to authorize the issuance of a permit, but I wondered whether it gone further with the contract and whether it's been funded or not.
Sure. Aloha, members of the board. I'm Finn McCall. I'm the engineering branch head for Dobor. So yes, this project has been bid out. It's been contracted. We have a contractor lined up to do it. The cost for the project was approximately 6.8 million. Part of that was funded by CIP funds from the legislature, and a portion of it was funded with our floating special fund.
Okay, so it's already you've got funds for this. Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions? All right, well, you guys go. Okay, and I have a couple questions. So who's the contractor?
American Marine Corporation,
Kind of dredging, how are they gonna do it?
with a barge.
Oh, with a clamshell,
Mhm.
so not on dredge, no silt base, or where does the material go? Cause it has to dry out, right?
Yeah, so there's gonna be like a temporary dewatering area within the site.
On the boat ramp area.
So if you're looking out the boat ramp on the right-hand side, the area where that's already eroded, where we're gonna fill in,
The
that's
green area.
where, yeah, that's where it's gonna be dewatered.
So you make a berm, you put the spoils in there, you let it kind of dry out, water percolates into the ground, ends up back under the site.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yep.
And did you need to get a Corps of Engineers permit?
We've applied for one, yeah, we're still waiting on it.
So you need to wait for that before you can start?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one more.
Yeah, go for it, Karen.
So on your, sheet replacement, so you're gonna go onto the backside of it? Cause you can't, I mean, you're not building a new wall, right? There's an existing wall that is currently eroding.
That's it. Yeah, so yeah, the sheets are gonna go behind where the
So it'll be
existing wall
behind,
is.
okay.
Yeah,
So you're not gonna be going.
going beyond
forward.
it, correct.
Any other questions? Rihanna, anybody on Zoom?
No.
Okay, sounds good.
Chair, I'd like to have testimony, please.
Oh, yeah, please come up. Sorry.
Hello, Kakayaka. Good morning, members of the board and chair. My name is Lapuli Schultz. I am actually the president of the Oahu Hawaiian Canoe Racing Association. And hearing this testimony here today from what has been developed by DLNR, we work together with them for many different projects and we appreciate all of their support. Hearing this, I feel that this is really going to be good for not only the environment, but also for the community, also for our members as paddlers. As you know, Hui Naulu has a big presence there. And I think they'll be very appreciative. Although there may be times where this dredging will have to take up some of their area, I think in the long run, it's going to be good. And I'd just like to say that as the president of Oahu Hawaiian Canoe Racing Association, we support this in general. We just would like to know what is the time frame, and then we can share that with everybody. But I'm in support of this, and I'd just like to share that.
Sounds good.
Thank you.
And staff can respond to your questions about timing, but
Right.
they need the permit first before they know when they can start, before
Correct.
they know when it'll end.
Yes,
So it's kind of a couple contingent items
yes.
there.
I appreciate your support.
Right, cool.
Thank you.
Anybody else in the audience like to provide testimony? Yes, go ahead.
Good morning. Thank you for allowing me to speak. My name is Brent Chang. I represent the stakeholders at the boat ramp. I was one of the driving members to start the work with Dobor. Finn, them guys have been amazing, and Robert. And the people that I represent would be the fishermen, the paddlers, and the end users of the bay. The bay is very, very heavily utilized by the community. A lot of family stuff going on there, and jumping on what Chair Isla said, it brings a lot of it teaches a lot of how to work with one another in the canoe, right? You put the 6 young individuals in the canoe, and they have to learn how to work with each other. And then there's a sense of family with all the rest of the the generations coming through the canoe halau, the fishermen teaching their children how to fish there. So the dredging and the canoe hale rebuild is ingenious because it saves a huge amount of taxpayer money, where the spoils from the dredging would otherwise have to be trucked out to Waianae. And there'd be literally like hundreds of loads that would have to be trucked out to Waianae and disposal be paid for. This is using the state's brains, and they are saving taxpayer money by utilizing the spoils and dredge and repurposing it right there so that it doesn't have to go out and truck out. So we all are very in need of that waterway being fixed. It's a very important waterway for rescue. Rescue launch is primarily out there to take care of the entire Kaiwi coastline. And, that area has the highest per capita rescue calls, right? To save people. And when you're saving people, it's not a matter of, hours. It's a matter of minutes when you're trying to get to somebody. So you folks, if by approving this, are gonna do the state a huge favor. Thank you
Thank you
very
very
much.
much. Appreciate it. Anybody else in the room like to testify? Okay. Just my comments. I lived out in Culeo and Hawaii Kai for 20 years. I worked for Kaiser Development for a long time. Dredging, when you're near marinas or ocean, that's part of how you maintain what you have. So I totally support this too. I think it's important that the state take on this responsibility and maintain the facilities. This is also the finish line for the OC1 and stand-up paddling finishes that come in from Molokai when they finish the race. The canoe races end up down at Hilton Wine Village, the 6-man, but this is the finish line for everybody else. It does, the hydrofoils and stuff like that. So anyway, I'm totally supportive of this. Any?
Just one clarification or question. Commercial and recreational use?
Yes.
Both?
Yep.
Okay. All right, so we have a harbor that actually supports each other.
Yeah, we have about, we
Did
have
I
just a
say
handful
that?
of commercial operators, probably about 4 or 5 that use the ramp.
Okay.
And Mike Sir uses this area too. I mean, he comes and testifies a lot for the DAR issues. I mean, I know he's from Julio too,
Yep.
so. Any other discussion, comments? If not, do I have a motion?
I make a motion to approve the staff recommendation.
Second.
All right, thank you very much. There's a motion and second. Any discussion? I had asked her earlier if there was anybody on Zoom. She said no.
Okay.
Any questions from the board? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? Hearing none, motion passed. Thank you very much.
Thank you, board members. Thank you.
We are flying right along.
What? I want that sign.
You want this?
This is Dobor highlight smile.
yeah, wow. We're doing so good.
Dobor is happy today.
Thank you for your support.
Thank you very much. Yes, okay, we're gonna move on to agenda item E1.
Oh, come in. Oh, what are you doing? Hey, there she is.
Doing
Perfect timing.
Hey, we got to something already.
Oh, we're back on the.
So much.
So I'm hoping that,
Introduce E1, you wanna do?
Dude, are we?
We're ready.
Thank you so
Oh,
much.
easy.
Howdy.
Good, unanimous. 4-0,
Appreciate it. I hope.
Gotta do this more often.
100%.
Do this more often. Good morning, apologize.
Morning.
Oh, what an auspicious group we have here this morning.
And Isla just left.
Yeah,
Missed all the
I
action.
miss all the action. I apologize for being late this morning, and thank you to Land Board Member Smith for conducting the meeting, so I'm back. We're now going to move on to item E1, approval of the continued revocable permit SB 002 to Hui Maka'ainana o Makana for the management of reservation system for collection of parking and entry fees, etc. Good morning, Alan.
Good morning and welcome,
Good
Chair.
morning. Thank you so
Good morning,
much.
board members. Alan Carpenter, Assistant Administrator with the Division of State Parks. I'd like to acknowledge Hui members Chin and Presley Wan back. And so you basically read the title. We know what this is about, and you're probably asking yourself, Mr. Carpenter, the last time we were in here for this disposition, you promised that we would be back next for a long-term agreement.
Mr. Carpenter, we first got the wrong island. It says Oahu on here. It's on Kauai, right?
Oh, yes, yeah, I see that.
Okay.
We have a couple of typos. So the answer to that question is both complicated and simple. And it explains some of the typos. So we are ready for the long-term disposition. We intended to come to this board at the next meeting for it. As chair knows, we were asked to defer all things at the next meeting for various reasons to July. Because of that, current disposition expires before we're going to come for the long-term disposition. And so if we had all the appropriate HUI members, and in particular, Mr. Chipper Wickman, who represents the continuity of the HUI for nearly 30 years of stewardship and management at Hyanna, we felt it would be inappropriate to ask for the long term without him and other members in the room. And so all this does is cover this tiny gap in time between the expiration of the current RP and the initiation of the next long-term one. So this is a very much a stopgap measure. We will be back here in July with the long-term disposition.
Thank you very much, Alan. Appreciate that. I suspect that there were more issues than just the,
Oh,
the PT, the EIS issue. So,
Right.
okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
So in the long-term disposition, are you gonna bring in the whole thing about the shuttle base, or?
all the activities will be included, and
Okay.
it will technically be a concession agreement.
Okay, including funds and how it can go towards trail maintenance?
It can go towards mission-related activities conducted by the HUI. Not necessarily the trail maintenance for themselves. The money that state parks derives from this disposition, as well as all of our dispositions, goes into the state parks special fund for us to be able to spend at our
Okay.
discretion, including for trail maintenance.
Okay, got it.
And I think that's a real important distinction. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that, Board Member Ono, for raising that. The concession law that was changed, it specifically permits DLNR to negotiate with nonprofits who, quite frankly, they need to generate funds to maintain their own operations, but they're not generating profit.
Correct.
They're generating revenue to put back into the operation. But at the same time, DLNR, because we are collecting the entrance fees. are
Correct.
Still coming to DLNR.
Mhm.
So those funds will be used for all the state parks related activities, as well as it goes into the larger pool of state parks funds.
Okay, so entry fees, is that like when they make a reservation to go hiking?
Yes. So every non-resident who enters the park, whether it's to go to the beach, hike, or any other reason, it's $5 per person.
And that's standard with all state parks.
Correct. And that amounts to about $1 million a year of
So
revenue.
that is what
to
could
us.
be used for maintenance.
Precisely.
Okay. All right.
And for those on the YouTube, we are looking at increasing those fees in addition.
Thank you.
Those across the street. I'm sorry, I'm a little feisty this morning. I apologize.
That's all right. We are too.
Okay, okay.
You're lucky that way.
Welcome. Sorry. No, thank you. So I do see members of the HUI that are here. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
When you say residents, is it state of Hawaii or Kauai Island?
State of Hawaii.
Okay, good, thank you.
You can go for free. Too high. Not just
And,
Hapuna.
I guess I'm just trying to clarify. So if you have a person born in Hawaii that moves to the mainland, they're not a resident anymore. But if they held on to a state of Hawaii ID or a driver's license, then the Hui would say, okay, you'll.
Absolutely. And we're pretty liberal with that kind of thing,
Okay,
right?
okay.
That's one of the really nice things about having people from the community
know.
at the gate. They know.
Cool, awesome, thank you.
Good question. Any other questions, board members? I apologize for not asking that.
No, so you're gonna correct the mistakes
We
in
will,
here,
we
right?
will correct the Oahu. It's clearly
Oahu
on.
On page
And
3.
if I can enter as
Okay.
record, AG Lau did identify a typo. Maybe I'll just give it to you guys to correct relating to some of the statute.
And then in your write-up on your remarks, it says that it was shut down due to the pandemic in 2019. It was not the pandemic at that time, it was a
It
flood.
was the flood. 2000. It was actually.
I think
it
she's
was-
testing you guys.
You are testing it. It was 2018 for the flood, 2020 for the pandemic.
And it's the flood of the pandemic.
Any other questions, board members? With that, I see members of the HUI. Would you like to come up?
Okay, two of you guys come up.
together. You may come up together.
In fact, if all three of you guys, they come up.
Keiko's here for, although I'm sure he supports this as well.
Aloha Chair, aloha Directors. I'm Pua Chin. I'm the Executive Director for the Hui Makaina no Makana. And we came just to show support and say thank you for all the support that you folks have given us over the years and allowed us to continue to do the operations we do out there. And we're looking forward to seeing you folks next month.
Yes. My name is Presley Wan. Currently, I'm the president for the Hui Makainana for the last 13 years. Yeah. And I'm here to, thank this board for your support of community-based management. And not only to Ha'ena, but to community statewide, that communities can collaborate with the state and work the state. And I think that's the best example for me personally. And so thank you again for your support. And since we're kind of on a canoe topic, I'd like to remember that what we always keep in our mind in a lot of things we do is Hewa Hemoku. So that the island is like a canoe and the canoe is like an island. So with that value in mind, I'd like to mahalo you folks again and aloha.
Thank you.
I wish I could give you Hawaiian Airlines credit.
They must have come on an earlier flight because they weren't on my flight.
Oh, okay. But I am, I'm sorry that you have to come back again today, but I appreciate your physical presence and really trusting in our partnership. I want to tell you that Ha'ena is the model. I was with Dobar in Poho'iki last week for the opening of their dredging project. They too look to Ha'ena to help with community-based management, and they are looking, Kealakekua likewise. I mean, you have through your, and it was not, I know it wasn't an easy, it took a lot of patience, it took a lot of coordination, collaboration. I know you guys just haven't been at this for the last couple of years. It's been decades. And, but on behalf of the department, I really want to thank you for working with us, for being patient with us. Just for believing in this partnership, because we really are trying to emulate Aina-based management, community-based management. We cannot steward these resources nor should we. You guys have the connection to the place. You are the best stewards for this place. So, but your model will give the strength and the courage for other communities to know that it is an option for them if they choose to go down this path. But I also appreciate your willingness to talk to them and provide them, lessons learned, what to do, maybe what not to do. So truly, on behalf of the department and the board, it has been our pleasure to hear your items. Unfortunately, probably more times than you'd like to them, but and to see the community support and to see the results of this collaboration. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yes.
I was there 2 weeks already. A week ago, then we went west, and then this last weekend in Ha'ena again. And it's amazing how much people come through there, and the people that actually are on the shuttle, so you have less cars going in.
Yes, yes.
They're on the shuttle, but when they're dropped off, they have a little briefing there, and then they're all led on. So I caught on to the briefing too, on what not to do and what you can do. And then from there, I also got the opportunity to walk near the trailhead, and there actually was a dog care person there that was asking them how was their experience. Of course, they said hard, muddy, but you know, hey, that weekend it was raining. So I'm glad that the state has a presence there also, so, you know, people see it. So I think it's a partnership, a true partnership that works.
Thank you.
So I guess we'll see you next month.
We'll see you next.
Thank you.
Thank you
Any-
so
any
much.
other comments? Oops. Thank you very much. Is there anybody else here who would like to provide us a comment on item E1? Anybody on Zoom, Liana? So I'm going to close public comments. Board, do I have a motion on item E1?
Motion to approve the revocable permit as submitted.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded to approve item E1 as submitted by staff. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Motion passes by 5 votes.
Unanimous, yeah.
For 5 votes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Thank you again now.
Thank you.
We'll see you next month.
D11 and D15.
Oh,
Alright.
did we decide which one we'll do first?
Okay, up to you.
D, is D, both of them are here? Okay.
Thank you.
You know what? Thank you very much. We're gonna first do D11, and then I'm gonna do move up a D15.
No,
Thank you very much.
okay, so D11? Hey, morning. Happy Friday.
Friday.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
Our goal is to be out of here before lunch.
Okay, okay.
What item we on?
D11 and D15. Okay. Yeah, kick off. After Ian, kick off.
Okay.
Oh, no, no. Oh, let him make the staff report first.
Morning, members of the board, chair and members of the board, Ian Hirokawa with Land Division. Item D11 is a sale of a remnant to Kekoa Kaluhiva and Cheryl Kaluhiva in Kaneohe, Kolaupoko, tax map key portion of 154442. Basically, this is a kind of a standard remnant sale. It's a portion of a state-owned ditch that runs across several properties, and as the owner of the property where that portion of the ditch is located, we're looking to sell the owner the remnant of the ditch within the boundaries of that property. So any questions? I'm here for any questions. Otherwise, the applicant is also here. So.
I have a question. I was looking at the map. And it seems like there are 2 areas for that ditch. Because it. Area.
Ian?
Yep. Oh, sorry.
It looks like it dog ears back. So
Yes.
Is the action today on both of those areas?
It would be whichever of whatever
Within the
footprint of
property?
the ditch within the property. Yeah, whatever the
the
footprint. So yeah, it would.
Thank you.
Have we issued disposition to the other adjoining landowners as well?
I'm not sure. Let me see. I'm not sure if we did or not. Barry, do you know if we sold any of the other portions of the ditch?
Because nodding yes.
Yes, we did, but not in the immediate neighbor. I think it's 1 block further down. Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
No, we heard you.
No, we can
We
hear
heard
you.
you. Oh, yeah.
We got you. Thank you, Barry. Board members, any other questions for staff before we bring up Kekoa? Okay. Come on. So Kekoa, nice to see you. Oh, yes.
Yeah, I just want to disclose that the applicant is a close friend of mine. We go back many years. He's a former deputy at the Department of Land and Natural Resources. And he's also representing in the Lee Trust in his day job at community school. So I have the highest utmost of respect and integrity. Mr. Colleague, I just want to disclose that it will not be a financial, I don't have any financial interest is what he's doing, so I have no conflict in voting on this matter.
I appreciate your disclosure, Board Member Smith. Now I feel very guilty that I must disclose. I have a hunch everybody here is going to have some disclosure to KCOA. Either you've worked with us, but yes, we have all, I've known KCOA for a very long time and, so, yeah, full disclosure in our both personal and professional work relationship, we work together. But like Board Member Smith, I'm not going to buy the property from KCOA. So I think he's going to keep it in his ohana and otherwise have no other financial interest in this transaction. So thank you.
Hello, Chair Chang, respected members of the board. Thank you for this opportunity. Keikoa Kaluhiva again. Mahalo to you for taking up this matter. If I may, so my understanding, both neighbors in front and back of my property did purchase their remnant parcels. I recall this early on when I purchased our property in 2008. Within those few years, they went and purchased theirs. I appreciate your consideration. I am aware of this remnant that has been under a portion of this property that I currently inhabit. It is under my garage, as you can see. The impetus in my desire to purchase is to hopefully enclose our garage to house my aging parents. And of course, going to the planning department and finding that we can't until I own this in fee. I just, for folks listening in, I am clearly understanding the process. It gives the chair the authority to get an appraisal done at fair market value in which would be presented to me, and it's a take it or leave it situation for my family and I. In full disclosure, I had an interest to purchase this prior to becoming first deputy here, maybe 11, 12 years ago. At that time, I was not financially prepared for this, but now with my aging parents and the needs that we have, I'm coming before you for consideration. So thank you.
Thank you for that, Keiko. Board members, any questions for the applicant? Yes, right.
Yeah, Kiko, so if you acquire this, it's not subdivided, right? But so it has to be subdivided. Then you're going to purchase this remnant. Then you're going to own the parcel on the left, the parcel on the right that you currently own, and then you'll have a third parcel that you're going to acquire from the state. So then you have to do a consolidation subdivision in order to legalize the structure that encroaches over this parcel.
I am not certain.
I didn't think so.
Normally with subdivided parcels, there's in residential districts, there's setback requirements. So if you have 3 parcels that you occupy, there's a setback from the awai as well as either side of your property. So I think you're going to need to subdivide it to make it one parcel so that you can legalize the structures that encroach over all 3 of them.
Chair, this is
Barry?
Barry. Can I intervene?
Yes, please.
Thanks, Member Smith, for that question. Actually, as part of our standard requirement in our conveyance document, we would require the applicant to consolidate the parcels according to whatever DPP standard. So that will be done after the conveyance.
Yeah, thank you.
Just another step along the way.
Thank you for that.
I think it's also in the remnant statute as well, the requirement to consolidate.
Right, it's in 17152.
Well, and the other opportunity that it might present is depending upon, this lot is 10,000 square feet, or it's going to be more when you acquire this 1,400 portion. So then if the underlying zoning is like RS5 or something like that, you could create 2 parcels.
Right.
So then you might have the opportunity to give one to your kids or your parents or something else, because you have
Appreciate
2 parcels of record, yeah.
Currently it's R10, so, okay, thank you.
Yeah, cool.
You can, I'm sure you can build an ADU. Is that what you're proposing?
Correct.
Yeah, yeah. So, yes, I'm sure you will, whatever DPP requires, you'll be in compliance.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, very good. Is there any other questions for the applicant? Is there anybody here to provide public comments on item D11? Is there anybody on Zoom, Rihanna? I'll close public comments. Board members, do I have a motion?
I move to approve staff recommendation for D11.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded to approve staff's recommendation on item D11. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Motion passes with 5 votes. Mahalo.
Thank you, Board.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for being here, Keiko. We'll now move on to item D15.
Good morning, Chair and members of the board. I'm Rebecca Anderson with Land Division. I'm presenting item D15. This is a request for issuance of right of entry permit for 5 days to Oahu Hawaiian Canoe Racing Association, Hawaii, for the Duke Kahanamoku Men's Long Distance Canoe Race to take place on 1 day each year in August of 2025, 2026, 2027, 2028, and 2029 at Duke Kahanamoku Beach in Waikiki, Oahu, tax map key 123037, portion of 021. This is a request from the applicant is the Oahu Hawaiian Canoe Racing Association, Hawaii, also known as ORCA. They're a Hawaii 501c3 nonprofit organization, and this canoe racing organization is the kind of the umbrella organization that sponsors a lot of these cultural canoe races and other cultural canoeing practices and events and education and outreach. The board has granted permits to this association for this event for many, many years now. The first race was held in 1968 with only a few interruptions since then for their annual race, interruptions for things like the COVID pandemic. The request is for permits for 1 day each in each of the years that I specified prior. The setup time, this is for the finish line of this long distance canoe race that starts in Kailua and comes around the perimeter of the island, ending in Duke Kahanamoku Beach. Again, the race has been held annually since 1968. The applicant states that setup at the site will begin at approximately 6 a.m. on each of the race days. The race participants will reach the finish line somewhere between 12 and 2 p.m., it's estimated. And then the applicant states that the activities and the closing activities, awards ceremony, et cetera, and cleanup of the site will be completed by 4 p.m. I'd like to also point out that the applicant is requesting an area of 3,000 square feet. The rent to be charged for each event year would be $300 per year. That's based on a 10 cents per square foot charge. That's our standard Land Division charge for this area. Let's see. The area is located on the sandy beach, right by the Hilton Hawaiian Village on known as Duke Kahanamoku Beach. I'd also like to point out that the total area is available. It is crossable by the public. Members of the public can be present in the area. I think the applicant hopes that members of the public will be present in the area to watch the race and the finish activities. And the structures, the temporary structures that will be set up there are located spaced apart, so it allows movement of the public among within the requested area. We have our applicant, Lapule Schultz from ORCA, who's here to answer any questions, and I'm prepared to answer any questions that you have for me.
Thank you, Rebecca. Board members, I just have one question. Maybe it's more of a policy, Rebecca and Ian. Where the rental is 10 cents per square foot.
That's correct.
Would we charge that to even if somebody was a commercial operator? Because they're a nonprofit.
That's correct. 10 cents per square foot is what we charge. It's our standard baseline that Land Division charges for use of state land. In the past, this board has given a rental discount to the same applicant organization for other races that they sponsor. I believe it was the Navahine Okekai and the Molokai Hoi races. This board has given a discount on the rent for that. And of course, Land Division is open to supporting that as well. It's the board's discretion.
What's the discount that we've given in the past?
I believe I should have looked that up and written it down. I think they cut it in half last year.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
It was a significant discount. I believe they cut the rental in half. Do you remember, Lapule?
I think it was about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to make that recommendation. To the amendment is mean, I think the fact that they're a nonprofit, we have provided, recognize that nonprofits, you know, sometimes gratis or some minimum rental. So I will ask the board to consider that. And in the future, maybe when the nonprofit comes, if you guys could include that.
Absolutely.
I think that would be helpful. Board members, any other questions or comments? Ryder?
Rebecca, I just had a couple of questions.
Of course.
So I'm in support of this, but that's why I'm looking for equity and
Yeah.
making sure we're consistent. So is it typical that we will provide a multi-year permit?
Yes, we've done this several times in the past, including for this applicant for the other races that I mentioned before, the Navahine Okekai race and the Molokai Hoe race. And I believe that other applicants who have recurring events at the same place, especially when they're cultural events, I believe we have done multi-year permits for them in the past as well.
Okay, cool. Because I think we should be consistent.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Across all the divisions.
Absolutely.
So Don, if there are other events that might occur, like in Kona, like Billfish Tournament or something like that, we would similarly consider like reserving the dates over more than 1 year. So they can plan in the future.
That's a good, I don't know how Dobar, because Dobar might be a little different, because I think Dobar issues the permits for those. I think it's, because I think there is a distinction, for example, the Molokai Hoe. Dobar has control over Molokai, where they depart. Land is under their jurisdiction, so they will issue out a permit. But DLNR, Land Division issues out the permit here in Honolulu because it's on state land. Is that correct?
Right, there's two different agencies that we work with between the two islands.
So that's a good point, Riley. So we should check. I don't know. I can't recall how Dobar does it.
Yeah, just to add, sorry, I'm not sure what Dover relies,
Yeah.
since we rely on 17155,
yeah.
I'm not sure if Dover relies on the
Right,
same
right,
statute. We think, because the board is limited for a permit up to a year, but really they're just a day, right? The permit is really just for a day duration, just
Right.
separate dates in the future.
Right.
So we think giving future dates, as long as they're for a short term, is okay under
Yeah,
17155.
yeah.
You know, especially for nonprofit groups that need to plan over multiple
Sure,
years,
sure,
they
sure.
need to commit to a date and they have
Right.
sponsors and
Right.
logistics and all that. So I think it should be consistent between the different
Okay.
divisions, whether it's land division or Dobar or whatever. And, you know, on Hawaii Island, you have Ironman, you have Queen Lulukalani races. I mean, there's a lot of activities that need some predictability in their schedule.
Yes.
Last question. So what happens if some unforeseen situation occurs with weather and they need to postpone? What latitude do you have that you don't have to come back to us?
My understanding, and this might be a question that can be most accurately answered by the applicant, but my understanding is that in case of weather events, that the event is simply canceled for the year and it's not changed to another date. I think maybe the applicant can answer that more clearly than I can.
Yes, mahalo for taking the time. With most respect and admiration to all of your time. The answer to the question is, as in this past year with the hurricane that came in during the summertime, we did have to cancel events totally because of we have a calendar year that goes from in the long distance, August through October, and culminating in the Molokai Hoe, and every weekend is taken. So even if somebody wanted to adjust, there wouldn't be a weekend to overlap another event. So unfortunately, we have to just end up canceling an event.
Okay, got it. Thank
And
you.
Cole, if you could just reintroduce yourself for the record.
Yes, my name is Lapula Schultz. I am the president of the Oahu Hawaiian Canoe Racing Association.
Thank you very much. Thank you, board member. Yeah, go
Chair, Colin has.
Colin?
I have a question for Ian. In the 17155 permit section, it says a permit on a month-to-month basis may continue for a period not to exceed 1 year from the date of its issuance.
Right,
So-
but
So, and then provided that the board may allow the permit to continue on a month-to-month basis for additional 1 year periods.
But these are just 1 day permits. So they're issued only for 1 day. It's not a continuous occupancy like an RP or a month to month. So it's like 1 day in the future.
No, I understood that it's only going to be 1 day in duration, but the sentence says not to exceed 1 year from the date of its issuance, but this is only one permit, but it's for multi-years. So doesn't that
No, but I think we could just execute then separate rights.
A separate
Yeah,
permits?
if need be, we can just issue separate rights of.
That would work if it's
Yeah.
separate
Yeah.
permits.
Yeah, but the
Yeah,
point is.
and if I may, what we've done in the past is, for these multi-year permits, is we do actually issue, after, the board approves today, and then each year, we collect the rental amount and issue a permit for that year. A separate right of entry permit that's signed by the chair, for that year, after the board has approved. So we do, so for example, in 2025, we will issue a permit document that will be signed by the applicant, signed by the chair. In 2026, we will issue a new 2026 permit document, signed by the chair, signed by the applicant, and so on and so on. And that's what we've done. I'm sorry?
Is there a new permit number?
That's correct, yes.
So it's actually approval of 5 right of entry permits.
Correct, that's correct.
So it's not really one. Do-
If it's amended to show that.
Okay, maybe Riley, Ian, maybe that's the appropriate way to do it. We'll just do it as a board approved 5 right of entry permits for these specific dates. Maybe this is a legal question too, but can the chair issue right of entry permits? I thought I could just issue a right of entry.
Well, you signed them after the board has made the approval.
So
Do you have a delegation? I don't. Well, if you do.
I thought there's a delegation for right of entries to the chair.
I can state that, when I process right of entry permits for something, like let's say like a removal of encroachments from the shoreline, those do go, chair, directly to you and not in front of the board. I don't know what the distinction is. I know that it's been the practice of land division to bring these event permits to the board, and not directly to the chair. I don't know why that distinction was made.
We did that last month
Yeah.
for the church in Waikiki.
I think with these, even though technically these permits, because it is unencumbered and it's non-commercial, theoretically might fit within the chair's delegation. I think our practice has been though for larger events like this, and especially in a highly public used beach, that we do bring it before the board just so public has notice of it and the board is aware of it if there are any questions. I think it's just been more of a practice, even though, theoretically it may actually fit under the delegation.
Because I do recall when we did the Molokai Boy race, there was a lot of community concerns.
Correct.
And so, but that was more like the DOBAR, and I think DOBAR issues a special use permit, so their statute is a little different. But I think as a result of those community comments, we did make a condition on those DOBAR permits that they had to at least meet with the community, I believe.
Yes, and over the
Yeah.
past couple of years, for your information, we had this condition where we had to go to the community. We actually fly to Molokai. We meet with different logistical people and
Yeah.
we explain our position and we gain their respect and trust. And we've had to go through this for the past couple of years now, and it's been good. We've been working with them.
Good, good.
And we appreciate your support.
Yeah, no, I do recall that. So I do understand, but sort of kind of going back to board member Smith's comment about this consistency. So maybe we should have some kind of a consistent application. It was my recollection that it's been delegated to the chair to approve right of entries.
Yes.
Okay.
So what we're doing is the approval for
We're gonna-
issuance of 5 separate
Right.
right of entry permits to Oahu Hawaii Canoe Racing Association
Yeah.
for the events, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
In 2025, 2026, 7, 8, and 9.
So I
Got
think, so I think there's an amendment to recommendation to authorize the issuance of
5 separate right of
5
entry
right of
permits.
entry permit. Yeah, for those specific dates identified.
Yeah.
I think, yes.
And I'm sorry, no, I mean, you wanted to discount the rent. I'm sorry.
Yes, so that would have been on A, 2A.
Yeah,
Yes.
that was my question.
Okay, yeah,
Thank you.
yeah.
I had a question. So Rebecca,
Yes.
this item will address the conclusion location of the race. Is there a
Yes.
similar disposition for where they start?
My understanding is that the Kailua Beach Park, where the finish line, where the start of the race starts, is subject to county jurisdiction. Is that correct?
It's a city and county permit on the start, and it's the land division on the finish.
Okay, okay, so you guys are cool, you guys are all
Yeah.
good,
Mhm.
okay,
Mhm.
awesome.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Choi, you got it. You got your recommendation.
I'd be happy to make the motion.
Okay, let me just make sure there's no other public comments. Is there anybody else in the boardroom? Anybody on Zoom, Brianna? I'll close public comments.
Okay,
Is there a
I
motion?
make the motion and I'm open to whatever the amendments that was. Because I'm confused about the date, the multi-year at this point.
You got the motion, Brianna. Okay,
Okay.
so it's the 5 separate permits, the issuance of 5 separate permits and the discounted
QA.
square
50,
foot,
50.
5, yeah.
For the year, for this year,
Correct,
Oh,
for
no, no,
per
sorry,
year.
For
Per year.
each, per year,
Per
per
year.
for
year.
each of the subs.
Yes.
Correct.
Subsequent
So in
years.
2025, they'll pay $150, 2026, $150, 2027, $150, 2028, and 2029, same thing.
But that's consistent with what we've been doing with the others.
That's correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, motion has been made
Second,
and seconded. All in favor of the motion to approve staff's recommendation with the 2 amendments, say aye or raise your hand. Motion passes with 5 votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the
Thank you.
blessings.
Thank you. I know, we appreciate your patience as we were going through so many of questions, probably.
I was about to say, I almost had the whole boardroom to myself. I mean, wow, that could be scary or.
No, that, you could, yeah, I would tell you, that could be scary.
Yeah.
You should not stay much longer. No.
But thank you very much,
No,
ladies and
thank you
gentlemen
very
of the
much.
board.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. No, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Are you guys good to go, Carrie? Shall we take a, no, everybody good to go? Continue to go for it?
Short break.
Short break.
Short
Let's
break.
take a
5
5
minutes.
Let me say hi to. Thank you, Keikoa. Take care now. Aloha. Okay.
Good. Ready? Okay, all right.
Back on the record, we're now going to move on to item, new move up, item D12. Ian?
Thank you, Chair. Item D12 is a consent to sublease of GL 5805 to the Waikiki Community Center. What we're asking is consents to one Hawaii Community Assets, Inc., Aina Momona, and Waikiki Community Preschool. The Hawaii Community Assets and Aina Momona are kind of after the fact. They actually did the 1-year sublease and now on a month-to-month, but they've come seeking the consent, so we're asking approval for that. The Waikiki Community Preschool is kind of starting their sublease now. From what I understand, they just received approval from the Charter School Commission, so they're seeking a consent and they'll do a starting operations in August, right? August. Yeah, so This year. yeah, so this is a prospective, and this one is also a 1-year sublease, so. And I think the applicant is Caroline. Okay, yeah, she's
Is
on.
that Carolyn?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Any questions for staff before we take the applicant?
Yeah, I'm confused on the start date. So you'll have 2 different start dates?
Okay, so for 2 of the 3, the Hawaii Community Assets and Aina Momona, they actually, it's after the fact. They've done a 1-year sublease, but they continue to remain subtenants on a month-to-month basis. So what the community center does is they do initial 1-year subleases and continue month-to-month. So those 2 have already kind of finished their 1 year and they're currently there month-to-month. The preschool starts, I believe, July 1st, right? Yeah. 2025, and that's the 1 year for them. So that's more of a prospective consent.
Questions? Carolyn, if you could introduce yourself.
Hello, good morning. My name is Caroline Hayashi, and I'm the president of Waikiki Community Center. I don't know if you want sort of a brief overview of this preschool, the charter preschool situation. It's a little bit different than what we've done in the past. We were approved at the end of April to become for our current private nonprofit preschool program to be converted into a public charter school. And what that means is that we'll be able to offer tuition-free quality early education to our families here at the school. And so we're really excited about that. So the format in which we are backstopping and supporting that program is changing a little bit. We're now, we provide, we're going to be, they're requiring, the AG is requiring us to have a sublease with the program because they're technically not a part of WCC anymore. And we will be providing, continue to provide them with back office services such as facilities, maintenance, management, HR, accounting, and that kind of, those kinds of services.
Caroline, can I ask you, you're a public charter school. Does that mean you fall under the Department of Education?
No, that's a good question. So the structure is that there's Board of Education on the top, and then on one side of the sort of org chart is DOE, and then the other side is the Charter Commission, so charter schools. So we're under BOE, but not DOE. And we're under the Charter Commission, and they oversee all the public charter schools in Hawaii. And we're actually a very unique type of charter. We're a pre-K only. It's called charter. It's part of the state initiative to try to increase the access to families of affordable quality early education. So we're just the second program in the state to have this to be approved, and we're the first to be converting from a private school to a public.
Are you a nonprofit, a 501c3?
Waikiki Community Center is a 501c3. Yes. And actually, we will still be using that same facility, which is a building on the property, because the public charter includes only the school day. They go by the public school calendar. And so they'll be running from 7:30 to 2:30, and then they close in the summer. So Waikiki Community Center currently has its DHS license preschool. We're going to use that license to provide full day care from 2:30 to 5:30, and then in the summer. So we'll both be using that facility, the part of the facility.
And I guess the question I ask is because I noticed we're charging a monthly rent of almost 13,000.
They are charging.
Who's the
No.
they? Oh,
We're charging them, it says 480.
Yeah.
And it looks like
The
whoever is the one that
Subleases,
that
yeah.
subleases.
Lease renter. From Waikiki Community Center, they will be asking the charter school 13,000 plus
Yes.
change every year.
okay.
Every year, every month, I forgot.
Yes, it's a 1 year.
Oh, 1 year.
Oh, it's not monthly, it's a
It's not
year.
mon-
Okay, that's,
Yeah.
okay. But, so Hawaii Community Assets is a nonprofit.
Correct.
We are charging them
480.
nominal, 480.
We are charging
480.
Waikiki Community Center, the master
The
tenant,
mas- oh,
480. We didn't charge. No, you were asking Hawaii Community Asset.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. Okay, who's the master Waikiki Community
Waikiki Community
Center?
Center, yeah.
They are the master lessee,
Yes.
and then we charge them
480 a
four hundred
year.
eight, but they are now subleasing. And they are collecting rents,
Yes.
and do we participate in those rents?
No, I think based on my understanding of that rental structures, Waikiki Community Center as a master tenant, they charge based on the utility, maintenance, repair, management for those based on the footage that they're using. So for example, Hawaii Asset Community, they're using only one room
Okay.
versus the preschool, they're using the entire bay on the first floor. So I defer to Caroline for further elaboration on how they base this the rental amount, but that's the general understanding.
I see.
Yeah, so if I can just elaborate. So we do charge the basically CAM, even though we call it rent. So for instance, for 2025, we project the cost of maintaining the facility to be about $685,000 annually. And kind of like a rough breakdown is, for instance, facilities maintenance, our facilities management, which is like janitorial, landscaping, security / our resident manager. Those kind of costs are about cost about $280,000 we project. Maintenance, which includes like day-to-day type electrical, plumbing, supplies, that's about $135,000. Insurance and utilities will cost us about $150,000. And then we have a little bit over $100,000 budgeted for unexpected projects. Because the facility is pretty aging, the buildings were built in 1940s, 50s. We often have projects that happen. For example, right now we're trying to find a water leak. That whole project, by the time it's done, is probably going to cost us about $7,000 to $10,000. We've had termite thing. We have to replace the roof on the annex area of the roof. Just those types of things cost us probably about $120,000 to $150,000 a year. So those are I'm just giving like rough estimates of categories of our costs.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that the sublease or the rentals or the CAMs are actually going back to pay for the operations.
Yes, for sure. So actually, we're not charging, so these projection for 2025, we kind of project the whole budget and then we come up with a per square footage cost. And actually, our per square footage projection is 195 a square foot, which we're not charging any of the tenants that they're actually being, those are lower. They're all lower than what we projected because, you know, we're
Okay.
taking on some additional costs on ourselves and trying to find grant funds for certain projects and things.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think that that is one of the benefits of using state land is, you know, that's so that we can support nonprofits who are doing community service, community benefits. And that's, you know, the cost of land in Hawaii is probably one of the greatest, you know, most costly expense.
Absolutely.
So making state land available for these kinds of purposes, in my view, is really consistent with Chapter 171, the use of, and I know this isn't ceded lands, but just the use of public land. So thank you for that explanation, and I totally understand now okay, very good. Board members, any other questions for the staff or the?
Yeah, very. So I'm looking at this lease expires in 2037, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay, so we're just looking at it for right now.
Correct. For your further information, member owner, if you recall, maybe about last year, the same Waikiki
Mamona,
tried to do
yeah.
a redevelopment package, so
Uh-huh.
the 37 days, right now is still kind of in the pipeline, in the process of being, yeah.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, board members, any other questions? Is there anybody else on Zoom? Rhea? I'm going to close public comments. All right, do I have a motion?
So moved to
Second.
approve staff's recommendation.
Second.
A motion has been moved and seconded to approve staff's recommendation. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Motion passes with 5 votes. Thank you very much, Caroline.
Thank you. Mahalo.
All right, let's go back to item D.
Item D1 is an issuance to a right of entry permit to the YMCA on Kauai on behalf of the Kauai Bodyboarding Association for a bodyboarding contest on Shipwrecks Beach. Tax map key 4291 seaward of 1. Basically, you know, just kind of a standard beach activities rights of entry to the YMCA. Again, you know, they'll be using 400 square feet for a tent and but at the same time, you know, competition is open to the public and no commercial activities are being held in the right of entry area. And be available for any questions.
Okay, board members, any questions for the staff? Is the applicant here? No, okay. Is there anyone on Zoom, Brianna? I'll close public comments on item D1. Board members, do I have a motion?
Motion to approve is submitted.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded to approve staff's recommendation as submitted. All in favor on item D1. Okay, motion passes with 5 votes. Item D2.
Item D2 is cancellation of revocable permit 7964 to build a Costa for intensive agricultural purposes on Hanapepe on Kauai. TMKs 41912 parcels 5 and 37. With this one, it's a little okay. So the permittee, you know, received the permit effective May 1, 2024, and could just not had issues with sort of the neighboring landowners across the street. They sort of took control, I guess maybe we'd say, or occupied the roadway area outside of the RP parcels. And from what we can tell, you know, kind of harassed him and prevented him from accessing the parcel. He did try to reach out to the county to clear the roadway. And from what our understanding is, you know, he reached out to KPT. They never really took any action. And at this point, they've kind of prevented him from using the parcel, and they've, from what we can tell, actually started to occupy the state parcel themselves. So, you know, at this point, you know, he wants to cancel the permit, and, you know, we're agreeable to that. I mean, it's not like it's really his fault necessarily that this occurred. So we're agreeable to cancel the permit and, right now, we're not proposing any further action, but I think we'll have to work with DoCare and, Katie Lo, and we'll figure out, okay, what do we do about the people that are occupying the property at this point, so.
Well,
Yes, I have a question. Do you believe that the dilemma is between the county of Kauai and the state of Hawaii?
Well, I don't know if it's between the county and the state. I thought because it was under RP, I would say, because like a lease in RP essentially privatizes the parcel, so we usually don't get involved in it. Like if a lessee had like problems with trespassers, we tell them, you gotta call the county police and deal with it. In this case too, because from what I understand, they're on the road right away outside. They weren't even on our parcel at that point. They were on the road right away outside the parcel. So we thought it should be it should really be a county, a police matter to clear it. Now that he gives up the permit though, and if the board approves the termination of the permit, it becomes unencumbered. So, I guess it would become a state and county
And
issue at that point.
If I could just add, yeah, it's 8 years, yeah, it's been like this. Having read the submission. I just feel that this man is an innocent party to what's going on right now, and I remember him coming before us at one point in time. It just seems like there's a lot going on with the Khalifs, and did a little bit of homework as to the credibility of the Khalif family. Something's got to be done, because if anybody else moves into the state land after DeCosta pulls out, they're gonna be faced with the same.
Yeah,
issues. So-
yeah, I know, I agree. I think, it doesn't bode well. I mean, if there's interest in the parcel, they'd need a lot of resources to secure and have kind of almost 24-hour presence on it to, ensure that these kind of, but even then they're still on the road, the right of way, right? So that's still, I think, and we think that's a county issue, it's, the county road.
The
So,
county?
yeah, we think it should be KPD getting involved with that part. So,
Okay, just a thought.
yeah.
Thank you.
No,
Chair.
we understand. So,
Thank you.
can we have Mr. DeCosta put into?
Is he here?
There is an iPhone that hasn't been responding to messages.
Oh.
Yeah. He was asked to attend. We did let him know, and we asked him that we highly recommended that he attend, so.
Let this person in and we can check.
Okay.
Chair, can I ask you a question? So in this event, the Kali family, and I don't know if this is even okay to discuss their credibility, but they're in arrears of 3 years worth of real property taxes. So I would think the county would get on them too.
For the property they
Yeah,
own
they
across,
own.
that's a county issue. I mean, I don't know
Yeah, yeah.
why, I
Okay.
mean, I'm not sure exactly why that or the road right away issues went
Yeah.
unaddressed, we don't really know. We just know that they
Okay.
haven't been addressed. So, and so.
Again,
Yeah.
I'm feeling compassionate for Mr. DeCosta. Sorry.
He's on.
Thank you.
Okay.
Mr.
John?
DeCosta? Are
Can
you
you
on?
guys-
Yes, we
can
can
you
hear you. Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. I don't know if you can see me. I don't know if I have my video on.
That's okay. We can hear you. We can't see you, but go ahead.
Okay.
And that
Well,
is him.
I'd like to say thank you to Allison Newsom first, because she did an outstanding job allowing me to get some kind of ag property, do some farming. And Karen Ono has been very much of an intricate part in helping me through all of this, but it's been very stressful as a local Kauai resident. And I was also on the county council as a county council member. And I have a classmate that is a Kali member. So I have some ties to the Kali family. And they felt that that land that was being leased to me was their property. They never did vacate the property. Even after the county and state cleaned it up, they were right back there the very next day. And I don't like to sound like I didn't feel safe, but I didn't feel safe going there. And it's not a good feeling, especially when my wife works at the hospital with one of the Kali's wives that also was working at the hospital, but now it's not working. But it's just I could not deal with that stress. And as a council member at the time, I did not want to get in any confrontation with the local family and be in the media. So I asked Allison and I asked Karen to help me if I could not participate in the lease. I did pay, I think, about 6 months of lease to the department, and I am sorry that it didn't work out. I would like to add one last thing before I'm done. The state and the county got to do a better job with our homeless on these vacant lands. I understand, my wife is part Hawaiian. I understand how the Hawaiians feel like, they have ties to the Kuleana lands, and if they have the paperwork or the pala pala, they called it. But it's not a good feeling when you're trying to do everything legal and these homeless people think that you are encroaching on their land. And they were homeless on the property, not only the Kalis, but they had their friends who were homeless on the property. So it was multiple people there that I had to confront when I first was going to the property. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. DeCosta.
I have a question for Billy. Billy, this is Karen.
Hey, Karen.
You paid how many months? Do you know exactly from when to when?
You were breaking up. I didn't get that, Karen.
Do you know exactly how many months you paid?
I believe was 5. I believe I was given the date from Allison, and then I went back in and paid a lump sum check. I think I wrote a check for, I don't know, it was $380 or something, or maybe it was $280, but I did pay for like 6 months of rent because I didn't want to leave the state holding a bag, because that was my responsibility. I did lease the place. So, and if I owe any more money, I would gladly pay off my, how can I call it? I would pay off my debt. So I'm in good standing with the state, because if I want to lease land in the future, I want to be a good steward of the land. So I'm willing, if I owe any more money, I'm willing to cut a check to the state.
Thank
Just
you.
let me know.
Okay, I don't have any questions. Anybody else got questions? I have concerns though, and I think Ian addressed them all because I had sent him some questions. Concerns that the lessee was unable to take full possession of the land, and that land division was made aware of the hostility that was taking place about the Kalis actually occupying the property. And, there was no daycare presence there either. So, I mean, I don't think we can, if we're going to continue in this fashion, then chances are we'll never get that property leased out to anybody. And that shouldn't be the fault of the state. I mean, it has to be, I think both organizations, state and county, somehow has to sit down and talk about how do we handle this situation. Evidently, and this is what I got from, I think it was Allison before, the Kalis were promised land from the state, but they didn't know it was state land, but they were promised land across the street for some land that the county took from them when the levee was being built. And if you look at the TMK, the back of their parcels, their two adjoining parcels, are county owned. And the rest, the properties on the side of that are all state land. So the state owns everything with the exception of those two parcels that the county owns.
I heard that same thing also, Karen, from them.
Yes.
And as a council member, they told me that I was taking away their land. And I tried to explain to them that county council members don't have that authority, but that's what they thought.
And I want to really confirm Allison for the work that she did in cleaning up the property, because it was really messed up. I mean, there was an RV There were boats, there were heavy equipment, I mean, a bunch of stuff.
Have you
That
had a
had to be
chance to
moved.
talk to the county, or Billy, have you talked to the county? Have they
Yes,
responded?
I did talk to the county. They seem like, because it's not county land, they did the cleanup, but that's not their land, right? So, I'm not sure if now they're gonna absorb those partials, if they're gonna take it from the state. I didn't get much of it.
It's not the county. Must be some
It's some kind of,
tidal wave, there's some.
no, some kind of alert. Funny, all of ours went off.
So all the other parcels are owned by the county, except for these two.
You're talking about which parcels, the state parcels?
Yeah, so, because you were just saying that all the parcels are owned, or is it the other way around?
Opposite
Oh, the
side
other
of
way
the
around.
street.
Okay.
The Kali's are on the opposite side of the
And
street.
those are lands that they own or that are county?
Well, they claim that they own their land, which they
Yeah.
do. They own a parcel,
Okay.
but in the back of them, when the levee was built, somehow, I guess the county took part of their property, and it comes out to about half an acre.
Okay.
And said, oh, you can have land across the street, which wasn't their land. So the owners were led to believe that they had the
Do they
right
have
to use,
documentation to that?
not that we know of, other than, the Kali's saying that it's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
theirs. And we don't have the Kali's here to answer any questions either, so.
Well, excuse me, our role is not to resolve
Right, right.
title
right.
issues. of
Yeah,
Other
yeah.
people's property, right?
So, yeah, and we're here just to cancel the lease, the revocable permit. And then maybe have the state and the county kind of work out this whole situation, because if not, we'll never be able to lease it. In the meantime, they keep putting more trash on it. So, there's going to be more boats and more heavy equipment or whatever they're bringing in.
So the property surrounding, I'm just trying to understand the lay of the land, is when you say work it out, meaning,
County and the state try to work out. Here, wait, yeah, back to you. Okay, so this is the state-owned parcel.
okay,
This is the parcel that we're talking about.
Okay.
This back section here is what the county
oh.
owns. This
it
whole
looks like-
part is
yeah,
the state.
Okay, oh, as a state, I see.
Yeah.
Oh, so this is what they believe, with the taking of this,
Yeah,
they were entitled to
yeah,
something.
yeah.
Mr. DaCosta, you got any recommendations? You are with the city, with the county.
Yeah, I'm not currently a council member, although I'm gonna run again, but, if you wanted my opinion,
Yeah.
it's very difficult, you guys, and you guys all know this, you're all locals like myself. When people feel entitled to family land that they believe it's theirs, it's almost impossible unless you're gonna take them to court. They're gonna harass who's ever in there. I think you should get a local family who's already living there, and I believe there was a family at the end of the road, a local family who wanted to lease the place, and their partial is right next to the state land. That way, somebody within that community already who's grew up with the Kali's, who can hold that lease, and they can farm it with vegetables and stuff. Now, the other option is to have the Kali's lease that piece across their house from the state. But I don't know how you guys feel about that. And I don't know if they would even want to feel like paying a lease to the state when they think that it's their land, right? So that's my advice. I don't know what else.
Maybe we can ask Adam Reversi
Yeah.
if they'd like to acquire this as a scattered lot,
Mhm,
maybe for housing.
for housing, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that may be
Yeah,
something.
But right now, we're just doing the cancellation
Right,
right
so
now.
there's just a cap. So I know when you asked the question about resolving
Yeah.
it, I mean, this may be,
It's just, we need to work on it. We can't just cancel and let it go.
Yeah, don't let it go. You guys did make a lot of progress. Thank you to
Yeah.
Allison and thank you to Karen. I felt like they'd hold my hand through the whole thing. And I'm really sorry I didn't try to take the helm and get the police more involved. But you guys got to remember, I didn't want to abuse my position as a county council member. I would have been in a very bad situation in the community, especially with the Khalid family, if I did that. So I'm sorry. It was stressful, you guys. I don't think anybody should try and get in there as a leaseholder until you guys can solve this.
Sure. Thank you, Billy.
And yes, let me know if I owe any more money. I can contact or
It
just
looks
tell.
like you
Yeah.
don't. No, it looks like you're okay. The submittal says no past due amounts owing as of the date of the writing. Yes.
Yeah, so Mr. DaCosta, can you give us a little bit of information about the fence that you were trying to put up?
Yeah, we never even got there. I brought material down, stockpiled, and the material disappeared. So I couldn't even get my fencing in. It was my fault. I should never have left my fencing material down there, but we don't know what happened to it. I don't know what happened to it.
Thank you, thank you.
Okay, yeah. Thank you guys.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Do I have a-
All right.
Is there anybody else here to provide comments on item D2? Seeing none, I'll close public comments. Okay, and Karen?
Yes, I make a motion that we cancel the revocable permit with Mr. DaCosta as submitted by staff. And that the state kind of works on all of our concerns that was brought up.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. All in favor, please say aye. Raise your hand. Okay, motion passes. This is intensive ag. Is this a potential Act 90 transfer?
Yeah, it could be. I'm not sure if, yeah. I mean, we'd have to check with DOA and,
Yeah.
see if they're, yeah.
I think what this requires is presence.
Yeah, exactly,
We
yeah.
don't have presence.
I think, yeah, the problem, I think because too, is even if we can look at clearing it, but because they're right across the street, they can just go back, right? It becomes,
That's what's happening.
yeah,
Yeah.
so.
I would like them to clean my yard too, and then I just move across.
Okay, all right, item D3.
Okay. Item D3 is, so what we're asking is the board to rescind two prior board actions of October 12th, 2001 and October 23rd, 2020. When it was approval of a sale of a lease at public auction for business commercial purposes. This was for the old Bank of Hawaii building in Hanapepe. And so rescind the actions approving those and then set aside to that same property to the Division of Forestry and Wildlife, and the same property, including improvements to the Division of Forest and Wildlife for office and storage purposes. Again, Hanapepe TMK 419549. And I think DOFA is here to answer any questions, but we're supportive of DOFA's need for the facility, so we're supportive of it, and DOFA's here to answer any questions.
Okay. Any questions of staff? I see Sherry Mann is here. Did you want to add anything, Sherry? Is there anybody else here to provide any comments on Zoom? Okay, maybe Sherry was satisfied with the staff submittal.
So Ian, there's still a safe in that building, right? Because it's a bank.
Yeah, I don't think we made any changes to the
Okay,
structure
so
as is, so yeah, it should
That would be
still
good
be
because
there.
they can use that for storage of, things that they have to mock up.
Yeah. Okay, so, do you have a motion?
Yes, I move that we approve item D3 as submitted by staff.
Do I have a second? Motion has been moved and seconded. Let's do item D3. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Motion passes with 5 votes. Thank you.
My apologies, I got cut off right.
Okay, well, that's okay.
We're gonna-
We
If you
just-
have any questions, or you've already voted, but
Yeah, okay.
Well, Sherry, this is Karen. So with the decrease in space from Lihui base yard, would this give you more space so that you can have all your fire equipment and everything else stored in that one area?
Yes, so
Would entirely move there or just parts of it?
no, we would move our heavy wildfire and emergency response equipment there. Currently, we're leasing land at the Robinsons family land. But we would be able to move some to Hanapepe, and that would increase our response time dramatically to the majority of the fires that take place out west. But the primary reason is that this building will serve as an emergency command center. And that's really important because currently there's only one on Kauai, and it's in Lihue. And so regardless of what the emergency is, the command center is run out of Lihue. And so many of our emergencies happen on the west side. So this will serve as a, DOFA building, but it will also serve the county and other entities that manage emergency operations. And so we work together out of one operations center, and that's what this will be. When there isn't an emergency, we will obviously store our heavy equipment there and some offices, meeting spaces, and hopefully get Shipty an office space too, because they have been without one for many, many years. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Sherry. We'll move on to item D4.
Did we vote?
We did.
Okay, item D4 is amend prior board action of January 10th, 2025. Item D2. Consent to assign land office deed S 281120 to Gary Rodriguez and John Rodriguez, assigners, to Wendell B. Vanman, assignee, Kapa'a, TMK 44632, portion 22. And we also, as part of that action, amended the same land office deed to allow the easement to run with the land. But so what we've discovered though is that before actually executing the consent and amending the easement, there was a couple things were found out. One was that, so what we're seeking to amend here is one, to correct the TMK number for the land that the easement shall run with and that benefits, changing it from identifying correctly as 44632 parcel 42 instead of 44632 parcel 25. So we want to correct that TMK. And also what was discovered was that initially the consent was from the initial grantee, Gary and John Rodriguez, to the current owner, Wendell Badman. But what we've discovered is that the same property has changed hands numerous times over the years. It has stayed within, from what we understand, Gary Rodriguez's family, but it has changed hands. So we want the board to also consent to all the subleases, the Mesny assignments that have occurred in those years. So it went from, Gary and John Rodriguez to Gary, then I believe to Shelley Rodriguez and Tani Olson, who I believe are his, also who are his daughters. And then finally from Shelley Rodriguez and Tani Olaso to Wendell Badman. So we want to clean up all the prior assignments as part of it. And, unfortunately too, we don't think we can actually execute all the consents because unfortunately, John Rodriguez has since passed away. So we'll work with the AG on how to best document everything appropriately. I'm sorry. I haven't done any questions. Yeah, sorry.
So what we're doing is just making the correction to the TMK number, right?
And acknowledging all the other
Acknowledging the
assignments, that have
consent
occurred.
Assignments, okay, so as amended.
Yeah.
Okay, I make a motion to accept staff's recommendation as submitted.
Second.
Okay, I'm going to note for the record that board member Kanto has left the room. So all in favor of the motion, please say aye or vote. Motion passes with 4 votes. Item D5.
Item D5 is after the fact consent to sublease under GL 4312 from under Gary and Karen Rubio to Western Integrated Technologies LLC and Roydens Auto Service LLC. This is in Kanoilehua and Hilo, parcel 3225826. This is one where, and we have the item right after where the lessee's lease is expiring, and, as part of the extension process, we reviewed the lease and found that there were subleases that have occurred that has not been consented to yet by the board. So we're seeking to clean that up before we bring the extension request to the board. And both myself and Candace are here for any questions.
And I guess I have a logistical issue. The lease terminates in June 29th, 2025.
Yes.
But the sublease goes on to 2026. So the sublease seems to go beyond the current lease.
No. It would be consented or only until the end of the current term.
To 2025.
Yeah. And I think, yes.
I'm sorry, because looking at page 3, sublease character, unit C 1500 runs to June 2026, and then D, that runs to June 2026.
Correct, but the board can only consent to the sublease as
To the extent of the.
yeah, to the
current
term, yeah, right. It wouldn't authorize, obviously, the consent past the end of the term. But again, we are asking for the extension, so if the board were to grant it, then
I'm sorry, you're, I guess later in the agenda, you're asking for an extension of the current lease.
Yeah.
But this is now just a sublease for the interim.
right, and to the end of the current term, because the board technically hasn't decided on the extension
Okay.
yet, so, yeah.
Candace, are we getting a lot of these because you're housekeeping and you're cleaning up? Because, over the last several board meetings, there's been a lot of the after fact cleaning up of subleases that haven't been previously approved. Are you and your staff kind of catching up? Is that why these are coming in? Because they're very close to the deadline. They're like June 25th, 2025.
Right. We really don't have a way for land division to track subleases. So I have started an Excel spreadsheet showing what leases have subleases on them and what the end dates of those subleases are so that we can begin to follow up on these things. But there has been nothing in the past that allowed us to track that.
So that's why I've had a real issue with wanting to ensure that in my view, the tracking is by having annual inspections, site inspections. So is the tenant compliant with the terms of the lease? And I'm trying to give land division the capacity to bring on board perhaps some kind of, whatever resources you may need to do those more regular site inspections. Because I find the land board and kind of catching up, and I know that's because staff is also catching up. When these become brought to your attention or you become aware. So I think we're all moving in the right direction. I think so. I'm pleased with that, but I think we do need to find a process that can help facilitate staff. Because, some of these things, I realize this is in addition to all of your existing operation, all your existing tasks. So I am trying to find capacity for land division to do more regular site inspections so that we can have a more up-to-date process in subleases and just lease compliance. So, okay. All right. Righty.
Candace, appreciate everything you're doing to try to catch up on all these leases. And, you know, I think the regular inspection part is really important. And sometimes it's as simple as driving down Paku Street and taking a picture of the front of the building that has all the subtenants on the boards. You know, all these guys are kind of in back of Walmart in that area by the Helco power plant. And so I know there's lots of subleases there. And to me, the simplest way of doing it is just taking a picture of what the front of the building looks like and see whose boards are up there. So at least you have a starting point when you're updating your spreadsheet on what documentation you have on who the sublessees are. But I know resource driven, so just happy that we're able to support and move forward on catching up on all these things that have kind of languished for a while. So thank you very much.
Okay,
Candace,
regarding the ones in Hilo and that whole industrial area, I think we only have 6 more to go
Cool.
for
You've been catching up.
inspections, because we've been focusing on that. You know, getting those commercial industrial leases inspected. You know, so that's where we're at with that one. Now
Thank
we
you
got
for-
spread out.
Also, I'm wondering, we should be placing the burden on the tenant. We should go out with a letter every year saying, please provide us confirmation, you know, sort of an affidavit that you're in compliance. Are there any new subleases, on your property? So, because
Wouldn't the subleases also have to have some kind of insurance coverage?
they should.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's ultimately the master tenant, right, that we have so we get the insurance from them. I don't know if what do the subleases, lessees? I don't recall seeing their insurance.
No, they usually don't provide it, but the AGs always require that it's in the sublease document.
So that we're at as an additional insured.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Normally.
But I don't think we collect, like how we normally collect, you actually have to provide us the insurance,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Every
Yeah.
year, and we get it from the master tenant. We don't get it from the individual subtenants.
Yeah, the only one I know that we do that with is the geothermal lease. Sublease.
Okay.
Well, I'm wondering just logistically whether it would make more sense to do D6 first to see whether the Rubios are granted an extension and then the sublease afterward, because the sublease that way, in that fashion, if the master lease is approved, extended, then the sublease can go on to 2026 rather than 2025.
You see that there's a kind of a catch-22 because we always put the sublease first because technically that brings them in compliance to get the lease extension. So in order of time, I guess that's why we do it first. I mean, I guess you could amend it to say that the consent is granted until, or and then if the extension is granted, then it's till the end of the sublease or something like that,
Your point as well. I guess it's a chicken and egg because in 2020, on the number 6, if we extend the master lease, the Rubio, there may be considerations on whether the rent increases for subleases and the like, so.
In this one, we aren't requesting any rent adjustment because it's a fairly small area and it's not like they're.
So it's only to
profiting off-
25 then at this point then?
Yeah, it would be to 25. and then-
Okay. I'm okay with that.
Any other questions, board members? Is there anyone in the public here to provide comments on item D5? Okay, I'll close public comments. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve item D5 as recommended by staff.
Motion has been moved and seconded to approve item D5 as recommended by staff. All in favor, please say aye. Or is it no?
Yeah.
Motion passes
Yeah,
with
with,
five.
with the clarification though, that it is to 2025 because the recommendation doesn't state the term. So you want to make sure that it's consistent that this sublease approval is only to the extent of the lease. The recommendation, is silent on the term unless it's understood to be that.
I think we need to be clear.
Okay, then we probably be approved as amended and
Yeah.
And-
I amend my motion to reflect the end of the term. And that's, I'm sorry, is that June?
It's June 25th, 2025.
yeah, what did, 20, yeah, so it'd be till June 29th, 2025, yeah, so maybe we can add that,
To be approved,
Yeah.
to number 2.
recommendation to, yeah, and then to Western, under the terms and conditions cited above, comment, and I can add to,
Under the current Western, yeah.
to
Okay.
June 29th, 2025.
That's my amendment.
I agree too.
A motion has been moved and seconded to approve staff's recommendation as amended. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Motion passes with 5 votes. Okay, item G6.
Okay, so this is, off the prior, this is the approval of a development agreement for 25-year extension of lease, term effective June 30th, 2025 to June 29th, 2050. GL 4312, Gary and Karen Rubio, and also to authorize the chairperson to approve and execute a lease extension for GL 4312, Gary Rubio and Karen Rubio in TMK 3225826. So basically, this is again the same lease we talked about. The lessee has provided their improvement plan, and just to note, if there was any kind of confusion, so at first the lessee provided an improvement plan totaling roughly about $136,000 and asked for a 40-year extension. But in reviewing it, we found that with the improvement plan, we didn't agree that painting should be, we don't think it's an improvement, that's just standard maintenance. So we deducted that from the total. But we also found, because they've already had a 15-year extension, they cannot qualify for 40 years. It's under Act 149, it's a 40-year kind of aggregate with all extensions. So because they've already received a 15-year extension, they can only get a maximum extension of 25 years. So we felt, even with the reduced improvements minus the painting, given that it's only a 25-year extension, that the cost or the amount of improvements justify the 25-year extension. And it also meets the 30% criteria. So, we're still okay with approving or recommending a 25-year extension, even without the painting counted. Yeah.
I have a bunch of questions, if I may. It looks like the Rubio lease is for, or the extended, current and to be extended, is 19,000 square feet. Whereas the 2 subleases we approved earlier was 1,500. So it sounds like there's still quite a bit of land or property under the master lease. Do the Rubios occupy it themselves, or are there other subleases in there as well?
No, the building is about 6,000 square feet. And so Rubio has 2 bays, which is 3,000 square feet. And then he subleases to Roydens and to Hydra Air, each one at 1,500 square feet. The 19,000 is the entire property. So the rest of it is driveway, entrance, and some landscaping as well as setbacks.
He has about 50% then of the house.
Correct.
Now, I guess your suggestion is that under the terms of the new lease, there would be provisions which currently don't exist, such as evaluating subleases and possibly a premium on the sublease rentals. And then also the remediation at the end to avoid the Uncle Billy problem.
Correct.
The question that arises to me though is, and then do a new appraisal. The issue that comes up to me is, are you now on this 11th and a half hour, doing an appraisal on the land only or the land and the building?
It would be for the land only, because with an extension, they continue to own the improvements.
Okay, and I guess coming back to the time at the legislature, and I think we had another lease, and then one of the subsequent ones coming here where there's not an extension, was a sublease. The value of the building is approximately $310,000. I think that was the evaluation when you did the ratio. So if this lease were not extended by 15 days or how many more days we have at the end of the lease, the appraisal would have to be based on the land and the building, whereas this is now only on the land.
Yes, because essentially if the lease, if the board didn't approve the extension, we'd have to either enter into a holdover or RP, but any long-term tenancy would be like a direct lease or a public auction, however they get along. But once this lease ends without an extension, you're right, the improvements would revert to the state ownership, and the lessee would then lease back both the land and improvements.
Yeah, so I guess I have a concern with the proposal, to the extent that we are on the eve of termination. And by extending it, we are losing the advantage of the value of the building, because in 15 days, it's your building, it's the state's building, which has a value of 300,000 that will be not considered for the new rent, because it'll be land only. It seems to be somewhat inequitable.
Only if we could immediately rent it out again. If on June 29th, the Rubios cleared the building and gave it to us vacant, that building wouldn't be worth $310,000 6 months from now.
Okay. And I also understand that you've got some good new features with the new septic system and some improvements. So not the painting, but some of the other.
Yeah.
But it's a real balancing act, I think. And I guess this issue will come with the other succeeding, you've got 2 or 3 more items coming up, one of which was where the current tenant didn't want to extend, and in that case, there's a sublessee that might take it over, but then at that point, the sublessee would have to do it on the basis of the building and the land. Right? Okay. I'd like to hear from my fellow.
Yeah, so I've
board
got
members.
Riley who's got a question, right?
Primarily, I want to make a comment. Okay, so businesses like this in Hilo, they're the core of Hilo's economy. Okay. I used to live in Hilo for 5 years. I've been in Hawaii Island for 32 years. The barriers to entry for new businesses because of high construction costs and interest rates are extensive. If you go to Prince Kuhio Mall, you see where Sears used to be, that's been boarded up for years. You see where Penny's used to be, that portion of it has been taken over by Macy's, but they're struggling. I'm not sure how much longer Macy's is going to hold on to Prince Kuhio Mall. The economy in Hilo does not have all the big boxes that exist in Kona. There's Target, there's Home Depot. You don't have Lowe's, you don't have Costco. So these are the businesses that support the economy, the real property tax that funds the county. I think what Candace said, that if we did not allow this lease to continue and these individuals moved out, they're not gonna reopen somewhere else, because the barriers to entry for them to get a permit that goes through the Epic system, that might take 1.5 to 2 years to get a permit before you can spend $500,000 to build a building. They're just gonna shut down, just like Alumside did on Poaku Street at the last meeting. They're just gonna shut down because their kids went to college, they're educated, they wanna have remote jobs. They don't wanna be selling windows and screens and doing the hard labor and showing up every day. And so I think there's extenuating circumstances that we all need to consider, that these types of businesses, they're core to the East Hawaii economy. And if we don't enable them to extend ground leases, I think, we need to look at the long-term interests of Hawaii Island and the state of Hawaii, and these are the kind of entities I think we need to support. I just wanted to share that.
And to address your point, Member Smith, I think that's kind of our approach is I know Candace is always in discussion with lessees on what do you want to do? You know what I mean? We ask them like, how do you want to proceed? We try to talk with their options, and some of them, like you say, they don't want, right? They're not interested. They want to retire and close down. That's fine. But if they want to pursue an extension, of course, within the bounds of the law, right? And our own policies, but we try to make it work, right? And bring it to the board. So that's kind of the driving is see what the tenant, how does the tenant want it? We don't really tell the tenant, no, this is what we're gonna do, right? We try to work with them to effectuate, their plans, so.
Candace?
And I just wanted to mention regarding some of the equitableness for the state is that cesspool conversion. I know that his quote on here is about $33,000. That doesn't include the design, which I've seen somewhere between 6,000 and 10,000. And depending upon, what happens once they get in the ground, it could be even more. That number's low. And if he doesn't do it, we would have to.
No, I appreciate it. And, I do appreciate where Riley's coming from. And I was just out at a meeting on Banyan Drive. This, and I mean, sitting next to Vernon all these years, I've really come to understand where Vernon's coming. So there's a real dilemma for me as a policy matter. Essentially, this is going to be a 70-year lease. They got it in 1970, and it is being extended to 2050. It's a 70-year lease, which similar to Act 90, privatization of public lands. But sort of like the Waikiki Community Center, the one, benefit of state lands is we are able to make public lands available to help fill, for a public purpose. So I think hearing what Riley and Candace, your comments about, well, if we don't extend this and the Rubios walk, we may not be able to fill this. And it's, for me, as a matter of policy and administrator, if people don't want to do business with DLNR because they cannot count on us, it jeopardizes our ability to do a lot more other work. So so for me, well, 70 years is a long time. And yes, I would like to have the value of the building and the land. Maybe we do have to take each one of these on a case by case. This particular tenant, unlike Uncle Billy's, has been taking care of the property. So for me, those kinds of considerations weigh in favor of, okay, I probably am willing if a motion is made to extend this lease, because he has demonstrated to be a good steward of these lands. So I guess, again, for me, it is looking at a case by case, balancing the use of public lands, our fiduciary duty versus, it's not, in my view, we're not here to get the most out of this land, the most financial value. There are other considerations, valuable considerations, like supporting this community from an economic standpoint so that they can support the larger community. So just appreciate the good conversation. Thank you. Okay, any other questions? I don't see the applicant on the line. Anybody else on Zoom, Rihanna? Okay, we'll close public comment on this. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve item D6 as recommended by staff.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded. We're in discussion. Any discussion? Okay, I'm gonna call for the
Just
vote.
one comment.
Oh, I'm
I
sorry.
wanted to mahalo Candace for making sure to include the removal bond requirement that is identified on page 9. Thank you for remembering to do that.
I'm hoping that's part of our checklist now, standard condition. Okay, so a motion has been moved and seconded to approve staff's recommendation as submitted. All in favor, say aye or raise your hand. The motion, Vernon, are you?
Show me an abstention on this one.
Okay, so there's a the motion passes with 4 votes and 1 abstention.
You need to do a roll call since you're a
Oh,
hybrid
okay.
meeting.
Okay, all right. Rihanna, can you do a roll call on this one?
Member Ono,
Aye.
member Char,
Abstain.
Chair Chang,
Aye.
member Smith,
Aye.
member Fato.
Aye. Motion passes with 4 votes. Thank you very much. Let's move on to item D7.
Item D7 is, again, approval of development agreement for 25-year lease extension, effective June 23rd, 2025 to June 22nd, 2050, general lease 4307, the CQ Pacific LLC, and also authorize the chairperson to approve and execute a lease extension for the same, in Kaneohe, TMK 32258-3. And again, this is another lessee, you know, that wants to seek a lease extension, 25 years. And reviewing the proposed improvement plan and the 25-year term, you know, we felt it did justify the extension. And again, like the prior one, this also includes the septic, the cesspool closure and septic tank conversion. So we you know, it's a key criteria for us. And also, just to add, we didn't really talk about the last one, but that's part of the standard language now too, is just regardless of whether they have it or not, whether they propose it or not, we're gonna include in our lease documents, including these extensions, you know, if you're on a cesspool, you have to close it and either connect to the county sewer or install your own individual wastewater system. So we'll start incorporating that into our leases. And be available for any questions.
Yes, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, I just had a question. I should have asked it the last one, but so if you're requiring them to remove the cesspool and be compliant with the individual wastewater system, the EPA required abandonment of cesspool back in 2005. So is there a notice of violation on this property that it has to be compliant?
Not a notice of violation, you know, we've let the lessees know. We're working with the EPA now. I don't know why we seem to be doing now, even though it was ordered in 2005. I think there's been a lot of occurrences over the years. I think our first position we took was, well, the EPA should just contact our lessees directly, but then, you know, they chose to contact us as the land enforce against us. So we've kind of had to, you know, work with them and also work with the lessees to convert. But we haven't really deemed anybody in violation yet, I believe, Candace. No, we never, because of this, we've tried to work with them and to try and, you know, as part of a lease extension or just generally, right? If they're like, let's say they're in year 10 of a 55-year lease, work with them to convert. What happens if they don't, or they say, I can't afford it? And, you know, at the end of the day, if they default and they lose the lease, it comes back on us anyway, right? At the end of the day. So.
And I was just trying to identify, because I know when I've worked for private landowners before in 2005, we were cited and we were given like fines per day if we didn't comply And it was until the date of compliance. So usually they allowed us to offset the fine by the amount of money it took us to convert. But we had to comply in 2005. So as far as you're aware, there's no notice of violation, there's no accrued fines.
Not for land division. As far as I'm aware, no. We are actually still.
There's not.
Oh, sorry.
That's
There's
no notice of violation.
Okay. Yeah, and then with us and the EPA, no, we're still working with them. I haven't seen any, or I'm not aware of any fines as yet, like a true, because we just signed, I think, like a settlement agreement. I believe it was the end of the prior chair's term. So we're still working with them on that.
And I think the EPA has always treated governmental entities different, whereas private sector, they go after you.
Yeah,
They used to. There might be a different, but we have a consent decree for the large systems, right, and all of our public facilities.
Yes, yeah.
So those, we've entered into a consent decree with EPA and we're converting those.
Yeah, and we don't really have those kind of under land division, but we do have a lot of like our tenants, so we have to enter into a separate agreement regarding, and even if, I would further note, even if it's a small, so I mean, we want the conversions, I believe under state law, they'll be phased out eventually too, so we just want to address it proactively, and regard if it's a large or small cesspool, just close it and convert.
I'm good, thank you.
So what's the worst case scenario though? I mean, how long do we, how long will it go this route?
I think we'll continue to work with the EPA and, we need to sort of finalize our, what they call I believe it's called the target list, what the cesspools need to be, what qualifies and what needs to be closed down. And we'd have to go to our tenants that are on that list and tell them, you've got to close this and convert. And either they're going to say, okay, or they're not. And if they don't, then, then it could be a potential, notice of default to a tenant. And but ultimately, like I said, if they can't afford to do it, the most we can do is probably bring the lease to the board for termination. And if they don't have outside of the performance bond or something enough money, it falls on the state, right? Because the property reverts back to us.
But I think everybody has to convert by 2050, right?
Yeah, I
that's
think
the
even,
conversion date.
yeah.
That's a state.
For even all cesspools, yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, I noticed the applicant, is that the applicant? Okay, did you want to add anything to this?
No, ma'am.
Okay, thank you for being here. Board members, are there any, is there anybody else here, Rihanna, to provide a comment? Okay, so I'll close public comments, but it is staff's recommendation to extend this lease.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Need a motion.
yeah, need a motion.
Based on the comments I've provided on item D6, I make a motion to approve D7 as recommended by staff.
Second.
Okay, motion has been moved and seconded to approve item D7 as submitted by staff. And when is this lease, this extension going to expire? Because this one is it's only 5 days, June 22nd. When is this
Same 2050.
2050?
It's a 25, yeah.
Okay. Let's do a roll call vote.
Aye.
Abstain.
Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes with 4 positive votes and 1 abstention. Okay, good luck to you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Okay.
Okay, item
Item D8.
D8 is approval of a development agreement for 25-year lease extension effective June 23rd, 2025 to June 22nd, 2050. General lease 4308 to Car Property LLC. And also authorize the chairperson to approve and execute a lease extension for general lease 4308 to the same lessee in TMK 32258-2. So if you recall, we did, I think it was last month, we brought the consent to subleases, for the same lessee in preparation for this. So, we're just bringing the development agreement and lease extension. And again, we work, the tenant has provided a satisfactory improvement plan justifying the 25 years. So we are recommending the approval of their request.
Candace, they're a good tenant.
Yep, they keep the place really nice. They're right next to Walmart.
Well, based upon the pictures they look. Any other questions for staff? Is there anybody here on Zoom, Rihanna? Okay, I'm gonna close public comment. Do I have a motion?
I move that we approve item D as recommended by staff and apply my comments that I made on item D6.
Second. The motion has been moved and seconded to approve item D8 as submitted by staff. We'll do a roll call vote, Rihanna.
Member Ong,
Yes.
Member Char,
Abstain.
Chair Chang,
Aye.
Member Smith,
Aye.
Member Fountain.
Aye. Motion passes with 4 votes and 1 abstention. We'll move on to item D9.
Okay, item D9 is issuance of a revocable permit to Westcoast Distribution Inc. for general industrial uses in Hilo TMK 3225832. And I think this is the one we just mentioned earlier where the current lessee, Candace is leaving, but we have a subtenant who has interest in taking over the property. So we'll issue our RP and work with the subtenant on it would be the permittee, I guess, if it's approved, the subtenant / permittee on a potential direct lease, provided there's no other interested parties. We can work with them on a direct lease.
So we can do a direct lease with this. Why? Because we're gonna give them a right of entry, a revocable permit, because the current lease is going to expire. And because let's see, I'm trying to understand the distinction between this one and the previous ones. Is the previous ones, the master lessee wants to do a lease, wants to do improvements and do a lease extension. In this case, he is a tenant of, I guess I'm just wondering, how can we do a negotiated lease with this individual and not go into public auction?
We got, and I don't recall the act number, but I think it was just
Oh, what was
the passage. Yeah, and we
you're
can,
right,
so
you're
commercial industrial leases, we
That's
can
right,
do,
that's right.
yeah, under 5 acres, we
Oh,
can do a
yes.
direct lease, but
Okay.
we have, there's certain provisions we have to meet in the statute, but this would qualify. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
So, yeah,
Yes.
because they're not the tenant. I mean, they're not the lessee,
Right,
right? They're the
right,
sub.
right,
So
right.
essentially,
Oh.
yeah, we would just give them
I-
RP to
yes,
control.
I think
and-
we should
yeah.
have mentioned the act, because in my mind, I was thinking of the old statute that wouldn't allow us to do a negotiation, but you're right. The ledge did recently pass and gave land division the ability to negotiate on these industrial leases. Okay, thank you. That answered my question.
Is
What
in
is
this
that?
instance, it's a revocable permit that's being requested at the outset?
Correct.
Yes.
And again, this is the exception, since it's the tenant, you are going to get an appraisal for the rent for the revocable permit period?
Not currently.
Because he's not the master lessee.
Right, so
he-
what is the RP rent gonna be?
$6,338 a month.
And how was that determined? Is that what he's paying?
That's what he pays now.
Okay, so the contemplation would be that you go into negotiations to see whether this becomes a direct negotiated lease, and if so, then it would be on the land and the building?
Correct.
Yes.
So this is this would really be a test case to see what your market is there then.
Correct.
Yeah, 'cause I'm curious to see what the differential might be on where the building is included.
Is he currently using the whole space, the entire space?
Yes.
Okay,
Wesco has been the sublessee since 1997.
Wow.
WPI never really used the building. They just bought it and rented it out. They're two totally non connected entities.
And we couldn't put, okay. That's a little different, okay. So Wesco is probably in a better position now that they're not paying some kind of an additional fee to WPI, who is more of a property manager. Never used the site himself, or what do you know, whether he was charging him in excess of what?
No, what I'm suggesting, recommending that we charge them monthly is what they're currently being charged monthly.
So do you know whether Wesco was WPI receiving anything in addition to that monthly rental for as being the lessee? I guess I'm just trying to understand.
Not according to the sublease. I have a copy of the current sublease between
Perhaps.
Wesco and WPI.
Yeah, what is the tenant currently paying?
$6,338 a month.
That's the lessee, the sublessee.
Correct.
So what is the?
Okay.
What is?
Hold on. Wesco.
Person that we currently have the lease with that did not want to extend.
That's the question I wanted to, that's what I meant to ask. Is your sandwich profit? So if he's not paying something like $2,000 and Sandy.
Probably.
God, let's hope not. So, since he's 1997, jeez.
I don't, well, according to the submittal though, when the board approved the consents, the original, they did not, adjust the rent to participate in
Did
the.
we have, was this one of those leases that we could participate?
I don't recall because from what I understand, the board policy is that if the lessee owns the improvements, generally we don't. But it's not a black and white, there's sort of a additional consideration that the staff needs to do. Like, for example, in this case, if it was like with the Rubios where they just, do a small portion to kind of offset for their maintenance costs. But if you have someone who's kind of just acting as a landlord, right? And they're doing the whole facility, then, the board had said, well, even if they own the improvements, it should be, that kind of thing should be considered in a decision whether to adjust the rent, and participate in the sublease rents. But I don't know I think that policy may have been placed at the time, but for whatever reason, the board did not elect to do it, because the board has not, just as a historical context, I don't think the board until now has been that.
I thought it was because it was just the old leases didn't permit us to participate in sublease. And this one is 1970.
Some of them still do though allow, like even the older leases, it's not written the same as it is today, like the language is different, but I've seen even older leases that do allow for a sublease rent,
Because I thought that was the whole purpose of Act 149 was to permit more modern, because our old lease didn't.
It does, but even there was some language even before. It wasn't as, I don't know, maybe what's the word, refined as it is now, but some old leases did.
Right?
Definitive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what what is, the current lessee paying? Do you know?
1,710
Oh my God.
See?
a month, a month, not a year, a month.
A month.
Wait, a
So it's
month versus,
20,520 a year.
versus he's paying $6,000 a month?
Correct.
Maybe that,
Something's not right.
what you've tried to articulate,
Yeah. Yeah.
Riley, is that, keep ongoing businesses productive in Hilo, but when you have these sandwich positions
Yeah.
and profiteering, I think it's a real concern. And I guess, again, I think as you're able to negotiate directly with the subtenant or the tenant directly on this RFP, another consideration is testing the market, whether there are viable businesses out there, or are we just giving money away to a absentee landlord?
Sarah, how often does the department revisit these contracts, these leases and subleases?
Under the lease term, so most of these were like 1970, they were originally what, 55 years?
Yeah, and if there were public auction, we can't, I mean, what we operate now is that we can update the lease terms if there's an extension, right? And because that's kind of a new, we still cannot go back and change public. I mean, if you're in like, you got like a public auction lease and you had for 65 years and you're in year 40, we can't go back and say, well, we're gonna revise anything. So
I
we're
think
still stuck with.
We had a change on the Sonia Faust original argument or AG opinion that on renewals, especially where they're about to expire, we can impose new terms such as
Updated terms.
participation, sublease rentals and the remedial Uncle Billy provisions and others of our new standard provisions.
Yeah, AGs don't like it when I say what they tell us, but that's the understand. We can update it, right? With the extension, we can update these, even if they were public auction leases. With an extension, we can, under 149, you're correct, can go back and revise it in the extended lease document, the lease extension document.
Okay.
Right.
In any event,
I'm
the
sorry.
issue before us now is only the revocable permit at 63.
Let's say, boy,
And I'm
you
not,
want to comment?
I wouldn't object to that.
I understand that. I just, from the get-go, from the beginning of the the merger or whatever, can it be specified there that we're gonna revisit this? Or how can we better protect ourselves from being taken like this? We were taken.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think it's just, when we get these, we kind of have to scrutinize them more and see what is really being proposed here. And, I think, like I said, I think now, like with the sublease, I think we tend to look at it closely and see, and ultimately, I mean, sometimes, and ultimately too, it's who's on the board, right? Sometimes the board, for whatever reason, I don't want to say that the prior board was wrong, but they made a decision, right? I mean, I can't remember if we recommended, I don't know. I mean, this was before my time, so I don't know if we recommended no sublease, but we might have said, oh yeah, give it, adjust the rent to increase it to pay, and the board might have said no, right? We don't know exactly what had
And I
happened.
think it was also predicated on a prior interpretation of an AG opinion issued by Sonia Faust many years ago, to the extent that if it's lease negotiated, even when we do these extensions after it expires, we weren't touching any of the provisions. And I think the AG has since reversed that decision.
Well, because I think there's been
Just
subsequent
recently.
case law. I mean, she was relying on Kahua Ranch.
Yeah,
And
Kahua
Kahua
Ranch.
Ranch specifically
Right,
said.
right.
So because I was supervised by Sonia Faust. I would tell you, Sonia Faust is a brilliant lawyer. But Kahua Ranch tied our hands.
Yeah.
It said we had, if it was a contract, it was like, if it was a public auction, everybody put a bid. The terms are the terms.
Yeah.
Negotiation is different. Negotiated lease is different. You can change the terms in the middle. But public auction, when everybody who participated in the public, and that's what Kahua Ranch said.
Right.
So I'm gonna stand by Sonia.
But the extent was, the staff was continuing that on these extended after the regular term. And I think the reversal has been on these new extended leases where the original term is up. We do have the liberty of adding
Yeah.
in these provisions.
And I think too, there's a little bit of thinking where if you're gonna take Kahua Ranch to its kind of extreme, Act 149 wasn't in effect when Kahua Ranch, right? So are you gonna say that, well, Act 149 is not, cannot work because it wasn't, no extension was contemplated at the time of it, but Act 149 obviously stands, right? So you,
I think those are the.
yeah,
distinctions,
yeah.
right? Yeah.
So.
Okay, Marty, you have number 9 to
And
approve.
the item before us is just the approval of the revocable permit.
Yes,
We're talking about a lot of things that
Yes,
don't pertain to what we're
Yeah.
voting on.
Yeah.
Okay, just checking.
Yeah, no.
I move that we approve item D9 as recommended by staff.
I'll second.
A motion has been moved and seconded to approve item D9 as submitted by staff. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
I just have one final comment about this discussion, though. I think it makes a difference when you have purely somebody who's like a property management, who uses state land and all they're doing is subleasing out to, that is a very different situation than when you had the previous item, in my view, D6 and D7, or D7 and D. Those people are actually using the land. I look at Kanoi Lehua. There's a difference. So anyways, okay. Item D9 has been passed. Let's move on to D10. Sorry.
No,
D10.
okay, item D10 is a right of entry to MCNA Inc. for one-day team building purposes in Kihei on Maui, TMK 23813, Seaward of 11. And basically the applicant is facilitating the event on for Prudential for a company, company event on the beach. It's again, standard, beach activities, right of entry. Aside from the activities, but no commercial, no additional commercial activities going on other than the team event itself. And so we're recommending, like any other beach activity, subject to the payment of rent. We recommend approval.
Any questions? Is the applicant here? Or anybody?
Ebony is here from Maui, but I don't think the applicant is here.
Okay. All right, the board members, you have any questions on item D10? If not, do I have a motion?
Sorry, is that a question? Ian, so I'm looking at the photo on Exhibit A. Is this in front of a hotel or is this a single family residence? I see a parking lot, but I don't know what that building is.
Yeah, it was.
LLC. It says Carolina Aloha LLC.
Ebony, do you know? It looks like you might, I was just kind of assuming it was like some kind of. There's just over. Ebony, do you know what the property Malka of unencumbered state lands?
Doesn't look like. Is she connected?
Trying to connect the audio.
Is that $10 million? Last sales price, $10 million.
10.5, yeah.
I mean, they have a kind of good sized parking lot, though.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was some kind of a office.
Can you guys hear me? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, no, we can hear you.
Yeah. Do you know what the property is that's adjacent to the state unencumbered lands?
I thought it was a private property.
I mean, they have a kind of good sized parking lot, though.
Yes.
Yeah.
Office.
Can you guys hear me? I'm so sorry.
Oh, Ebony, can you turn your YouTube off? Sorry.
You know what the property is?
Turn your YouTube off.
Okay,
It is a private property.
Wow.
but do you know if it's like a hotel or a residence or
Residence.
a resident? Okay.
That's a lot of parking.
Wow, they got a huge parking lot.
And I guess my only concern is if this was Kailua Beach and we were allowing 90 people to have a team building event, I just want to make sure we're clear what we're allowing. And it looks like a residential area, but And the buildings next door look like they're hotels, something, but I don't know. I don't know this area. I rely on the Maui board
I
member.
don't know the area,
It's
so
a
I don't know, that's
condo.
not my tax bucket.
I'm assuming it's a non-exclusive. They're not gonna coordinate, are they coordinating it all?
Oh, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
No, no.
That's nice.
Okay.
Yeah, I move to approve staff recommendation.
Second.
Motion has been moved and seconded to approve staff's recommendation on item D10. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Motion passes with 5 votes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. We've completed item D11. We also
Oh.
did D12. We'll do on D13.
All right, good morning again, chairs and members of the board. For item D13, I'm Rebecca Anderson with Land Division. And this item is a request for issuance of a right of entry permit for 1 day to the Waikiki Rough Water Swim Committee Incorporated for the 52nd Annual Waikiki Rough Water Swim, that's hard to say, finish line area. And this is for September 1st, 2025 in Waikiki, Oahu, tax map key 123037, portion of 021. This is Duke Kahanamoku Beach in front of the Hilton Hawaiian Village. So this request is for an area of approximately 2,000 square feet. It's to be used as the finish line and the finish area for the Waikiki Rough Water Swim Ocean Swim Race, which has taken place annually since 1970 with very few exceptions. The race begins at Kaimana Beach, and that beach area is under the jurisdiction of the city and county of Honolulu, and the applicant is applying for or has applied for a permit from the city and county for that space. They have also applied to DOBOR for permits for the in-water portion of the race. And DOBOR was consulted on this submittal, has confirmed that they have received an application for marine ocean water event permit from this event. And they had no objections to the right of entry that is sought for Duke Kahanamoku Beach.
Great. Thank you so very much, Rebecca. Board members, do you have any questions for Rebecca before we bring the applicant on?
Just one comment, Rebecca,
Yes.
I would be supportive if they wanted to come in for a multi-year event. This is always on Labor Day, yeah?
Yes, it
I know the
is.
date.
Yes, and the applicant historically has requested 1 year at a time. I will definitely communicate to them that if they want to get a multi-year permit for ease of operations for them, that's acceptable.
Yeah. Things similar to what we did in the previous.
Correct,
Okra,
yeah.
Yes,
So-
and
yeah.
again, similar to the previous canoe race submittal, this is a nonprofit, 501c3 nonprofit organization. And we have recommended rent of $200, which is based on the 10 cents per square foot calculation. Again, if the board would like to adjust that in line with what you've done with other nonprofits, we're open to that.
Very good. Is that Stefan? Is that the applicant?
I know that there is a representative of the applicant here. I believe a member of their governing board.
This is Stefan Ranke. Thanks for entertaining our application. I appreciate it.
Okay, did you want to add anything more?
Nothing other than we will follow up on the multiple year permit. I heard that earlier during the earlier presentation. We will do that so we won't take any unnecessary time from this board in the future. We'll do that on our next submission next year. And we appreciate your everything you're doing for us.
Very good, thank you. And you don't mind paying the discounted rent?
Don't mind that a bit. All of our, so you know that all of our proceeds go back to the community. We give back to the local swimming community, the University of Hawaii swimming community, as well as kayak and canoe clubs to assist us with the race.
Very good. And you always have safety measures for your swimmers along, right? Because I know that sometimes the seas have been rather rough there. So
We've had some interesting ocean during the years that I've been involved. Yes, we do. We hire professional lifeguards that are either current city and county lifeguards or former city and county lifeguards, former fire department personnel. In addition, we have canoe clubs who are on course. And as you know, about 3 years ago, we had an unfortunate incident where there's a heart attack. And the good news was that our water safety was there within seconds of the witness, the victim being identified. So as tragic as that event was, it reaffirmed that we had our system is working. We can continue to improve upon it and try and expand it as our race continues along.
Very good. Thank you for clarifying that. Is there anybody else here who would like to provide comments on item D13? Seeing none, I'll close public comments. Do I have a motion?
I move to approve the staff recommendation with the reduced
Rental?
rental rate.
Second.
The motion has been moved and seconded to approve staff's recommendation with an amendment to
Discount the rate.
discount the rent. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Motion passes with 5 votes. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item D6.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item D16 is issuance of a perpetual non-exclusive easement for waterline purposes and issuance of a construction right of entry to Department of Transportation Harbors Division at Sand Island. Tax map key 11541, portion of parcels 5 and 22. So the site is basically the site that's in question is the city's wastewater treatment plant site. But DOT is requesting to install a water line in order to supply water to one of the Matson parcels leased by Matson for use in their the livestock cargo operation. So basically, to provide water for the livestock that are being transported. So again, we have no issues with this request or supportive, so recommend approval.
Okay, and I notice we have a representative from DOT. Derek, did you want to add anything?
Oh, no, nothing to add.
Okay, board members, is there anybody else? I'll close public comments. Do you have a motion on item D16?
So moved.
Second.
Staff approval.
Second.
A motion has been moved and seconded to approve item D16. All in favor, please say aye or raise your hand. Motion passes with 5 votes. Okay, thank you. Thank you. If there is no other business before the board, I'm gonna close the meeting at 1:22. Well, 12:22. Thank you very much.